and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, finally, for, what the hell episode is this? Episode 424 for the week of October 22nd, 2019. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
Hey.
Bryce Larsen!
And Bryce, well, I don't know, I needed a countdown for when you know, it's harder when I can't see you guys.
And Charlie. It is, well, this is the worst introduction of all time because that was Toby. And
that was the Bryce Larsen of Earth T.
I wanted to like, Bryce just jumped right in, so I guess that's fine. Whatever. Bryce is here.
That's okay. I like the Earth T. We now have a way to just define Toby.
Earth T.
I'm Bryce.
That was Bryce Earth X's sixth life that was saying hello.
Ooh. He read something.
Topical. So Bryce is here through the wonder of the internet and through the...
I'm quite disappointed. I thought you were going to be here, like, for real. Like
next month.
Really?
If Higgins will have me, I'm going to be there in like, what is it? In like 3 weeks.
Excellent.
Oh. We could talk...
Touchable Bryce. I can't wait.
We could talk all the various X-Men #1s that have shipped by the time you get here.
Which he will have read none of.
Oh, no, he'll buy all of them.
He'll buy all of them,
yes. Bought them. Well, Bryce, we had to have you on because we cannot talk about the biggest X-Men event probably ever. Without you.
Before we go to the X-Men, may I ask Bryce something?
Of course.
For new listeners. Bryce?
Are you wearing pants?
Just to catch everybody up, have you seen Joker?
I have not seen Joker. As I'm on the record many times on this podcast since I moved to Oregon. I don't have any nerd friends up here, so I don't go to.
You
nerd
have only
movies,
normal friends,
unless it's by myself. I've got a lot of jock friends, mostly dad friends, frankly.
Okay, when was the last time you were in a comic store?
Probably. I'm up here.
Yeah.
Fucking probably 2018.
When was the last time you were in Chipotle?
Probably October of this year.
Okay, the over-under on unread comics currently in your house is 30 issues. Would I bet the over or the under on that?
If you wanted to make money, you'd bet the over.
Okay. The last time you rolled your eyes at a Ryan comment or tweet.
Wait, I'm sorry, say it again.
Last time you rolled your eyes at a Ryan comment or tweet.
Oh, like a week ago with Higgins' Joker tweets about how it's the best superhero movie ever.
And finally, for new listeners, how many days in a typical week do you get properly dressed?
Well, hey, motherfucker, properly dressed for me is sweatpants and a t-shirt.
Okay.
Every day.
All right. The end.
Sometimes he throws on soccer gear.
Wait, should I have checked Twitter today? I usually do that before episodes.
You go on Twitter?
It is seriously the last time I tweeted was the last time I went on Twitter, so I should probably have done that, but I didn't do it today. Today I had to work. I had to literally chainsaw tree trunks today to fit them in our green recycling bin because garbage day is tomorrow. I had to coach my son's soccer practice. I'm a busy motherfucker.
Dang, super dad over here.
Super dad, that's what they call me.
Yeah. Should have stayed in the Bay Area where there are no trees. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Well, I would have. I just can't afford a house.
We are going to talk about some X-Men here. You have read all of House of Powers.
Yeah.
Okay. We've all had our fair share of comments about it. We never really talked about the end. We wanted to wait and have you on. The people need the full Bryce. Okay, the full Bryce experience here.
So, are we coming back in like a few hours after we?
Yeah. We're just gonna put our headphones down. We're gonna go get some food. We'll come back and
Jake's.
Yeah. We'll go to Jake's and before it goes away. Bryce, I want to know. You are Mr. X-Men.
Yeah.
What do you think about this whole event? Now, I mean, you've read the whole thing, right?
I've read it all twice, and I need to caveat something about this. I am going to say a lot of shit that's wrong. Frankly, I'm going to, unlike my normal diatribes. I'm going to try to say I'm going to try to have everything be correct. I'm definitely going to get some stuff wrong because Hickman is crazy, dude. But yeah, I'm ready to talk about all of it. I've read the entire thing 1.5 times. The second time was just skimming through, so I'll give that a half. Because you can finish your little lead up and then I'll dive in.
No. I think I want to hear your thoughts, overall thoughts, and then we'll kind of have a little round robin about the end and where we stand going into X-Men #1 and everything. Because X-Men #1 did come out last week. We'll keep it spoiler free for you because I know you haven't read it yet. But we may touch briefly on some of it before the end of the episode. But
yeah, I mean, you can. I don't mind if you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anything crazy happens. You can spoil #1 for me because I'm probably not going to get it for a month, and I don't know if I can wait that long. Unlike my previous spoiler stances with regards to movies, but
really.
I don't want to jump too far ahead, but.
Jean and Wolverine sitting in a tree.
Well, that's okay. That's maybe the one thing. We'll get to that. Have you
guys seen all this stuff about Cyclops and Wolverine and Jean? And
yeah.
Am I not being transmitted?
Can you hear Toby? Is Toby's mic on?
Yeah, I heard Toby, but I only heard him say Wolverine and Jean.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Bryce,
yeah.
House of X, Powers of 10. What are your thoughts?
Woo doggy. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to perfectly encapsulate very simply how I feel. The X-Men have been my favorite favorite comic group, family, series, whatever you want to call it, for over 30 years now. And after reading this series, I am equal parts. Probably not equal parts, but I have yet to settle on a ratio. Excited and terrified. I am excited because I love, and you guys could probably tell me more, I love the idea of like a showrunner behind a family of comics. I don't remember the last time, because I don't work at a comic shop, you guys all probably know better than me, the last time that there was like a showrunner behind a certain family of comic books. Now, I'm sure that
Batman?
Yeah.
Sure. I was going to say Bendis with X-Men. I was going to say Jeff Johns with the Green Lantern family stuff, but that was really only 2 titles. I'm sure it wasn't only 2 titles, but really was it? Anyway, so I'm really excited that they have a quote-unquote showrunner, as far as I can understand, for this. I'm super excited for what he did with regards to leaving a lot of open threads. I think that the retcon that that this whole series basically is just wild, absolutely wild. Like there's so much room for like new stories to be told. I hate the idea that all this. Of course, my daughter's knocking and I'm waving her away, and she's like, "Daddy, I cannot be. I'm like Jonathan Hickman. I will not stop." Haley, go away, please. JT, get Haley away. I think Brock had the over-under on 5 minutes as to when that would happen. Anyway.
I just wanted it to happen, period.
So I don't love the fact that basically every X-Men story that I ever know from my whole life sort of has taken part in 3 years of one of Moira McTaggart's lives. Don't love that. But I do love the fact that, like, it's been sort of catalog now, and now this is the official canon for the time being as to when all that took place. I love like how this. I mean, I think that the biggest retcon is in this whole series is Moira McTaggart being a mutant when the whole time she wasn't.
Yeah. Flame claws.
Yeah, we'll get those out of here. I think. It was funny because I was finishing up, like, obviously before this series, I was finishing up the Rosenberg X-Men, and I actually, I liked what Rosenberg did. Didn't necessarily love it, but it was good, good X-Men reading, but it was funny as, you read more and more of it as you're approaching this Hickman thing, and it's just like that poor guy, he must have been just like writing his X-Men story, just knowing that it literally none of it counts because Hickman is just going to come in and just upend everything.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, there have been major paradigm shifts throughout X-Men history. I mean, other than just eras of like great story writing, there was, I think, the paradigm shift that New Genesis brought, that the '90s X-Men #1 brought. Some people think, and I do not think, that Joss Whedon was another paradigm shift. Grant Morrison, Hickman fucking loves him some Grant Morrison's. That was like, of whose stuff got kept around. Morrison was referenced, and his material was kept much more than anybody else's in history. And I don't know if that's just Hickman loving Morrison or Morrison actually being better than I think. Even though I forget what my stance is on Morrison.
What's mine? I don't remember.
I just remember that I absolutely hated Frank's, because I can call him Frank, we're buddies. His art is just, I think that I'm on record once or twice about Frank Quitely's art. It was an absolutely wild story that I think is going to be great fodder for the next long time of X-Men stories. It's kind of weird that now they are, this flag planted in the ground. We're our own territory. Sort of like Professor X gets his own asteroid M, and he's like, you can all go fuck yourselves. We're doing this our way. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm very nervous. So I said equal parts excited and sort of scared. All of this potential is very exciting. I'm frustrated that again, as I said, my whole childhood X-Men career is wrapped up into 3 years ish. I forget exactly what it is, but of Moira McTaggart's one life. That is, by the way, not even the current one. But what I'm also very nervous about is the fact that like Hickman has set up this. He's like T-ball. He's laid it up. All these people like have all these storylines that they can like go on a feeding frenzy off of. I just don't know if it'll take one fucking maverick writer to come in and be like, well, I'm going to tell the story about her 11th life, and here we go. Which I wouldn't put past Marvel to do. Like, for example, if Morrison came back, if somebody, like, with enough clout came back, like Joss Whedon or whatever, and said, I want to do a story, but I want it to be about Moira McTaggart's 11th life. So something like that. Like, something that could easily, pull the wrong thread on this tapestry or this quilt that Hickman's made, which I think is very elaborate, and he did an amazing job. And in typical Hickman fashion, I read it the first time, and I was like, what the fuck is even happening? I absolutely loved it. There was so much to sink your teeth into, and the art, by the way, the art was just phenomenal the whole way. There's so much stuff that I'm sure that,
it's the 1.5 times that...
Pardon me?
It's your boy, Pepe Larraz.
Love Pepe. And RB Silva, love that guy, even though I don't even know if it's a guy. I just, assume, which is definitely bad of me. But, yeah, the art was fantastic throughout. The interconnecting story was fantastic throughout. The story, just in general, of mutants figuring out the real threat. I mean, I guess we're going to go through it separately, other than these initial thoughts. Is that correct?
Yeah. But I did have one question. Now that we've all, for the most part, read it. I've had my opinion on kind of one of the bigger meta parts of the story that some people agree with, some people don't agree with, and I want to get your take on this. But I want to go around the room here first. We'll ask, and then I want to get your take, Bryce.
Sure.
So now that we've read at least through Power 6, and if you've read X-Men #1, you can chime in with that as well. So for people that may not have heard the other episodes, and Bryce also to explain to you, Moira McTaggart has 10 lives that she's lived, right?
Yeah, we should have probably prefaced what the story's about.
Yeah.
For new listeners.
We'll get to the more of the meat of the story because we've talked about this in some of the previous episodes, as I know because you've listened to all our previous episodes.
No, he hasn't.
Exactly. But for new listeners.
But for new listeners. And there's a talk of a potential 11th life if things go right, I guess. I'm not exactly 100% sure what would cause that 11th life to kick in, but that's what...
well, it would probably involve her dying.
Yeah, but that's what... what's her face? What's the character's name? Destiny, yeah. Yeah, because I don't want to spoil X-Men 1, but I don't remember if it's X-Men 1 or if it was House of Power 6, where... They were like, no one that could see the future. We were not bringing her back.
Was that
Powers?
Powers 6.
Yeah.
Moira and the little triumvirate or whatever it's called. The three, Magneto and his fucking T and Xavier and Moira. Yeah, no precogs.
So as of House 6, we have seen the majority of Moira McTaggart's lives where she's been... It is not like reincarnated later, like she dies and comes back. She dies and is reborn back at the start of her birth, but is able to change the current world. So it's not like she was born 1,000 years ago and has been living every 100 years or whatever like that, right? I mean, she's consistently being reborn into her same life with the knowledge she had previously.
Correct.
That is her mutant power.
Yes. Which, by the way, first time that mutant... I mean, like... They've had 1 million mutants. First time that one's, as far as I know, and I'm an X-Men expert. First time I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I mean, which is good for him. I mean, Bendis just like a new healer. That's this is the Bendis new
the 7th
mutant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
gold balls.
Don't get me started. I'll get to gold balls.
So, do you believe her 10th life, which is the ongoing plot that's going on right now, that is taking place, is this the same world in which Fantastic Four #1, Giant Size X-Men #1, Days of Future Past, Frank Miller's Daredevil, Grant Morrison's New X-Men, go now currently to Absolute Carnage, right? Is this the same? Is the 10th life the same 616 that is the current, permanent, stable, normal Marvel universe? I want to pull the room, and then Bryce, we're going to go to you. Now that we've read them all, we've had opinions as we've gone through. What are your thoughts, Brock?
Who the F knows? Like, honestly, it's year 1. It's year 10. It's year 100. I'm like, of what? Like, it's one of the big problems I had with the series was that when we got glimpses of, like, when it said year 1 or is it year 10, or it didn't tell us
which of her
lives it was in.
I mean, it usually was.
So
you were able to figure it out by the end.
Pox 1 or Pox House 2, where you had the wheel, the timeline wheel.
Yeah.
That there's an error on.
Yeah.
But when we're reading through it, it's never telling us, is this year 10 in what we're seeing, like in timeline in year 10, or is this year 100 in year 10?
Well, the ones that went into the future, they did. I don't have the chart in front of me, so I'm not 100% sure. But I think they did I think they did a fairly good job. I felt I knew which... By the end of it, you knew which worlds everything... Or which lives everything was happening. But House and Powers, 10th life, is that the standard normal Marvel universe? Yes or no?
I don't fucking know.
Okay.
Again,
nice answer.
I don't care. Like, it doesn't...
Kevin.
I'm going to say no, because Professor X is walking and wearing a giant helmet.
Yes.
And so if you're asking if it's the Marvel Universe where Giant Size 1 and Days of Future Past and...
Yeah.
Like, that's not the same Professor X.
Right.
So I'm going to guess no.
Well, I mean, if you believe that this is the world, all that happened, and now this takes place a year in the future, and this is just his new thing, right? So that's but because he wasn't like this the whole time, right? I mean,
yeah.
But so
I'm undecided, but I'm leaning no.
Okay, Charlie.
I'm also leaning no, and part of the reason why I'm leaning no is just because it feels like it would have had more ripple effects into other books if they were going to do this sort of massive a change. It would have been an event that you'd see like the Avengers reaction and Fantastic Four and that kind of stuff. I don't think it would be as isolated as they've made it currently.
So, Bryce, my opinion on this, since Powers 2, the second we heard about it was Powers 2, right? They had her
House 2.
Or House 2, sorry.
2.
I was like, oh, cool. This is a neat little weird alternate reality, but still the 616. Moira's 11th life is the real Marvel Universe. Where's this going to go? Right? I am a little shocked that we now have multiple ongoing X-Men comics that, in my mind, are taking place not in the Marvel Universe. But clearly they're going to bring this out for a while. But there are plenty of people who think that, at least myself and seemingly these guys, are totally crazy. That this is 100% the standard, normal Marvel universe that everything that we've read for the past 50 years has taken place in. Do you think that's the case? Or is her 10th life, is her 11th life the real Moira McTaggart that we've always known, and the 10th life is a previous version that is very similar to the current Marvel universe, but is not actually the real Marvel universe? What's your take?
Okay, so I don't believe this whole 11th life. I think that that's a story yet to be told. I believe that what I think is so... I mean, not to cop out of the answer, even though that's exactly what I'm about to do, is that I think that it kind of doesn't matter. All of the Marvel universe could have taken place within all of the Marvel non-X-Men universe could have taken place in any decade of any of Moira's past lives because there's so little overlap. I think that the entire what this book is sort of saying is now the case, which is funny because the past 80 years it hasn't been the case, and then Jonathan Hickman writes the story, and now this is all the case. Is that everything that's happened in the 616 is happened basically during Moira's 30s and 40s. And and then here we are, the end of her 10th life on the timeline that they gave us.
But her 10th life is the standard Marvel universe. Do you think that's...
Yeah. Yes, but all of these stories, I mean, you mentioned specific, the Frank Miller Daredevil and these specific story arcs, a lot, if not all, of these other stories could have taken place in any window of any of Moira's previous lives. Because if she never deals with Daredevil her whole life, and I don't think Moira McTaggart ever has, then Frank Miller's Daredevil run could have happened in any one of Moira's lives. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Or all of them. Right?
Yeah.
Sure, exactly. Or all of them. So, I don't think that we're in 11th life territory yet. I think that we're currently in life number 10. It is going to be interesting to see how the rest of the Marvel universe deals with this new god status of mutants.
Well, that is the question, because I don't think they do, right? The Beyonder could come, snap his finger, and everything goes back to normal, right? They can always... There's always an out. But they don't until they do. As soon as a single other writer on one of these other books recognizes this being the case, then that continuity is within Moira's 10th life. Right. I don't see the out. I don't see how they go back to time to go back to Grey Malkin Lane and time for Magneto to be a bad guy again. Apocalypse, gotta fight him again. There's no, again, short of your Crisis, your retcon, your Secret Wars, or what have you. I don't see how they pull back from this, right? What
that's why it's terrifying.
do they do in 5 years when Hickman's off, or 3 years and Hickman's off, and they're like, well, I guess we're going to go play some baseball in the old X-Men backyard again.
CBR ran an article back in August that talked about each life individually.
Yeah.
And they brought up the fact that most likely this is Life 10 is the Marvel Universe because it's the only one she marries Joseph McTaggart in and has a son.
Yeah, has Proteus.
And that's Proteus.
Yeah.
And so that's the only one that she has.
But she could do the same thing in 11. And my reason for this is in her first life, she doesn't know she's a mutant. She dies, right? She dies of old age and then gets reincarnated and is like, what the fuck happened?
Can we take them? Did you guys already? I mean, I know, but for new listeners, did you guys talk, give a good account of, how brilliant this is? This is brilliant
cool
of Hickman. Yeah.
My belief, though, is that her 11th life, she's no longer a mutant, and that's the regular X-Men universe. That's the regular universe. She dies.
Wait, why do you think that?
She has no mutant powers in her first life, right? She dies of old age, or she doesn't know she's a mutant. She dies of old age.
Correct.
It would make
she's
sense.
a mutant in every one of her lives. It
would
says
make
so
sense to
in the timeline.
bookend her in her final life as also not realizing she has this ability, right? And then she just is, again, we get through this big mega story that Hickman's setting up, which I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on. I'm not. It's a really cool idea. But I don't see how they square this into the standard Marvel universe in any way. Right. And that is the problem with a story like this when you're in a universe like Marvel or DC. These things have to gel to the overall world. That shouldn't, they can do little side stories, and they do them especially now in DC all the time. They're doing all these unconnected, standalone, Black Label, yada yada yada.
They kind of don't though.
DC does. But Marvel
No. I'm saying they don't need to necessarily gel. I mean, I agree with you that Hickman has kind of written himself into a corner a little bit. But I mean, his thing can just be all those other stories that you're seeing are in, a 10-year window of one of her previous lives.
So Wolverine pops up in Amazing Spider-Man in 3 months, and Spider-Man's like, so you guys are your own nation, and you're immortal, and you get reincarnated by gold balls now, huh? How's that going? I just don't see that conversation happening, right?
I don't know how the adamantium gets put on the
Oh, we can. There are so many questions about the gold balls reincarnation thing. Why does Deadpool still have terminal cancer when he's reincarnated?
Well, Deadpool
How
can't
does
be
that work?
He can't die.
Deadpool's died 20 times. He dies all the time.
Yeah, and then he just comes back.
Well, they all do.
No, Deadpool just comes back from his own. There's probably 700 Deadpools running around. We just don't know them.
Oh boy, that's what we need.
Well, so that's something that Hickman has talked about. Was that's a good story beat for some future story writer to talk about with respect to the whole, what happens if they think some mutant is dead and then they reboot them or regrow them or whatever. Yeah. But then they turned out that they weren't dead. And he said that that's going to be a story that somebody writes and it's going to be a good story.
So let me ask you this, Bryce, just because this is one of those cases where I need your X-Men knowledge. Moira died to the legacy virus. Did they ever bring her back after that in X-Men that you recall?
She died right before Morrison's X-Men, and I don't believe she ever came back.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't know with regard to that. What I would say is that there was some note in one of the Hickman issues about how Professor X has rebooted himself from an earlier version, and that he was not the only one to do so. Do you remember that?
Well, it was Astonishing X-Men, right? So I'm trying to figure out how we get from Astonishing X-Men to here. Yeah, because they bring him back. What do they put him in, Phantom X's body or some shit? What do they put him into? I don't even remember.
I know what you're saying. I'm brain farting the name.
He's X, right? They call him X. Yeah. It's yeah. And they kind of never. Do they ever resolve that story? They're just sort of I guess he's back, and then they don't talk about that in any other book, do they?
No, astonishing.
Yeah, the Rosenberg X-Men never... Does it cover Professor X at all?
No, because they go into Age of X-Man. I mean, this is one of those things that I'm probably getting wrong. I don't remember them resolving it, and I just remember the series ending, and then they go into Age of X-Man, and then Rosenberg takes over, and now here we are.
Yeah, because to me the biggest tell that this is not the real is what Kevin was saying before.
It was Phantom X.
Yeah, it was like a Phantom X's clone body or something, right? That they throw him into.
It's just Phantom X takes off his mask in the thing.
Yeah. Because they call him Xavier. He has the helmet on. You do not see his face. They do not call him Charles. They call him Charles early, right? Like Moira calls him Charles, and you see Professor X. But when you come to current day, 10th Life, he's got that Maker helmet on. It's classic Hickman, right? Classic Hickman design. He looks just like the Maker. And to me, like, that's not Professor X, Charles Xavier, leader of the X-Men. I mean, the X-Men are like a fucking cult at the end. They're like chanting like resurrection stuff. You're like, what is happening here? Like, this is not
they're naked, by the way. They're
all
running around naked.
They're all sorts of things.
How dare they be naked? How scandalous!
Like,
wow,
is this super powered Cassandra Nova Xavier mind controlling everyone? Is this crazy alternate reality Professor X that wants to kind of run everything? Are these questions that will not be answered, and it gives future writers an out if they want it, or Hickman an out? Like, there's so many questions I have about this book, which is good, which is a great problem to have. I love that we're talking about this.
Bryce, give me your take on this, or anybody else at the table, too, because I was going to reread this before tonight. I just didn't get a chance. So I don't know if this was answered or if it's just speculation. When Moira dies each time, what does the world keep on rolling?
No, it's reset.
No, it's reset, yeah.
So any story, like a Captain America story, when Moira dies, just blinks out of existence. We're assuming the entire world is wiped. That's her power?
That's the interpretation that it gives.
Yeah, so that's the interpretation.
I'm of the opinion that there's, just that other infinite reality. That's that other parallel universe. And right now the X-Men are in her 10th life. So I kind of disagree a little bit with what it sounds like is being said. I do think that those worlds keep on going as parallel universes, but that is not what the Marvel 616 is, and that according to Hickman, this Marvel 616 right now is Moira's 10th life.
Well, and that's what I mean, because if it does. I mean, it basically does say that is not the case. That the world does end when she. Because there's one where she's way into the future, right? And she lives with Apocalypse to 1,000 years into the future, and that's one of the. And I want to get. We'll talk about the fan lines here in a second. But these are all the 616 Marvel universe, right? It's just she is reliving. She's stuck in Groundhog's Day. It's not a
correct
alternate reality that's being created. She is just reliving.
She's reliving
and can shift
the
current reality.
So like things that tend to things have happened in the past. Like when she meets Xavier. That's a point that has happened or it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
There's points like Xavier makes. Creates the X-Men, but Moira's not a part of any of that in that timeline.
Yeah.
But I guess my confusion is, and you don't want to drill too deep down into comic book science in any case, just humor me for 1 minute. Moira is born in, let's say, 1960, just to pick a random date. If the universe wipes out, then it is reborn before that, and there's millions of years of history that starts on its own, untied to her.
Right.
That's why I'm thinking it can't be parallel worlds, because how would it restart?
Right. No, it's just she's able to maneuver reality within her her life.
Existence.
No, what I mean is that's why I think it is parallel worlds rather than the entire world resetting.
It's like Marvel 616 Moira 1 is the one where she dies of old age, right? Nothing happens.
Yeah.
But then we get Moira's.
But in Life 2,
Life 2, it's the 616 and then like exponent M2, right? For Moira's second life.
But in Life 2, does Steve Rogers go into the ice at the end of World War II?
Yeah.
Does all of that happen?
I think you have. You think you have. Well, as untouched to reality as you can be, you have up to her birth.
Yeah.
This
doesn't change.
Nothing. It's like a fixed point in time. Everything there stays the same. She is then thrown back to that point. Nothing before changes. Just to her point,
and
changes.
nothing outside of her sphere of influence changes.
Well, butterfly effect. You know, you hit this and that thing goes that way. And Professor X doesn't go into space. They don't do the Dark Phoenix. That caused blah, blah, blah. I mean,
but to go back to the earlier example, Bullseye kills Elektra.
Yeah.
In every one of these lives,
probably.
So I guess, Bryce, the thing that we had confusion with, as you heard on an earlier episode, was Ryan's point was why in all of these timelines, and I think that's issue 3 when it's revealed, or I can't remember now, when it's revealed that she's being reborn.
Two, yeah.
Yeah,
Is it 2?
House 2. Yeah.
Only one of them shows the Uncanny X-Men and the original teenage X-Men.
Right.
So is that the only timeline where those things happen, or is that the only one where they're shown?
That was my question, because I'm like, well, that's basically the 616 world right there. So what's happening?
Back to the problem that I have with it's year this when. Like, what Moira year is it? Like, which one are we?
No, they like I said, go back and look at that chart, because
not the chart, because you're talking about the panels that we see on the page of all those, like the classic X-Men, the giant size, all that, like that stuff we saw on the page. That wasn't part of the timeline. But on the page, it doesn't tell us what timeline it's falling under.
I mean, you can suss it out based on if it's way in the future. There's only 2 timelines that get that far, I think. Because she teams up with Apocalypse in one. She's like, fuck it, let's just take over the world.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's...
which is so cool, man. Like, there could be awesome X-Men books written about her other lives. Like, how cool would that be?
Right? So Hickman announced there was going to be a comic called Moira X. I believe that's what it's called. And that, I'm assuming he's going to write it, that is going to deal with...
Life 6?
Everything. Filling in random bits from all her various lives, which is a cool idea, right? Which is a super cool idea. Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to write that. I thought he said that he waited for announcing it till...
Oh, no.
Yes,
so
Charlie's right.
Our live studio audience said that Hickman self-picked the writer for this.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure he's going to oversee it pretty
Right,
dramatically.
like a showrunner.
Yeah,
that's cool. But I mean, like how cool is some of the stuff? Like the idea in her like life number 8, Moira and Apocalypse form the X-Men. Like just like what a cool concept for a story that could be. And I love this idea that he's overseeing it as a showrunner, and they're not just gonna even if it's an idiot writer, at least he'll be an idiot writer like with a guiding hand. I mean, it's so cool. So
they're gonna bring Cy Superior back.
Oh, don't you dare. I mean, so yeah, I'm of the opinion that these are all parallel worlds and that our current 616 is happening in Moira's 10th life. I do believe that almost all, if not all, of these other stories that have ever happened in Marvel Comics under this premise either happened in her 10th life or, almost all, if not all, could have happened in other of her lives. Or all of her lives. I'm pretty sure, and I forget exactly if it was earlier. And I'm holding this issue 2 here, where they talk about like the forgotten years or whatever, when they like acknowledge that AVX was just awful, and then they say like where all this stuff happened.
They throw some shade on Bendis there a little bit. There's some. Like, his entire run is like, and then this happened. But then they use Gold Balls as one of, like, the it's all, like, these scrub-ass X-Men that end up being, like, the most important.
It was absolutely wild, that the 5 that regenerate them all. And, yeah, like what you said earlier about them being, like, a cult, like, it's scarily accurate. Like, it is very cult-like, and I kind of think, well, not kind of, I definitely think that's an intentional move by Hickman for some reason that's beyond my reading prowess.
He hasn't gotten X-Men #1 yet.
Of all the characters, Storm feels wildly out of character.
100% agree. I 100% agree.
Like there's something
the most out of character X-Men of all of them.
Yeah,
that's why I was thinking that this wasn't real, quote unquote, Marvel timeline.
Right. Well, but there's always the out of, well, we were all mind controlled.
Exactly.
So back to normal. Sorry, guys. But yeah, we bankrupted. We corrupted the entire planet's monetary system. But yeah. I don't know. It's such a freaking crazy story. It balls crazy that Marvel would allow this. But
it is so crazy.
Despite even at panels saying that, this is 616, and we have no. I'm going to paraphrase here, but they said something like, we have no reason to believe it's not Charles Xavier. I'm like, oh, that's bullshit. They're, of course, not going to say it, but yeah.
Well, Xavier has been hopping around since, was it?
Well, he's not been around at all.
Well, no, he's been hopping around in Brains because that...
In Astonishing?
No, the one prior. The Deadpool one.
Are you talking about Uncanny Avengers with the Red Skull taking his brain?
Yeah. That one, right?
That was pre-AVX, though.
I don't like to remember that happened. No, that was post. That was post AVX.
Was that post AVX?
That was post AVX.
Yeah. Pepe Larraz did a bunch of art for that too.
That was the merger of the teams.
The Red Skull put Xavier's brain in his body.
Yeah.
Or
Axis.
Leading up to Axis.
Woof.
Yeah, Woof is right. I don't often agree with Brock, but there you go. Yeah, dude, so crazy, and I'm with you, Higgins. Like, I cannot believe that Marvel allowed this. I don't know. There's going to be some great stories about like this whole concept of like reincarnation, where they reincarnate them over and over, and maybe that has something to do with why Storm is so fanatical, even though she's normally such a good voice of reason. It's like she was crazy, and they're all like super high and euphoric on their own stuff, and it's just it is so crazy. So yeah, no, I'm really excited to read #1.
They're pumping out from what's the
Krakoa?
They got Krakoa's special drugs. They're like disrupting the world's like economies. They're like making their own nation. They're like unkillable now. But okay, so I do want to say though, like it's such a cool idea. The idea we haven't talked about the sixth life really. The idea that, or the one that goes on where she lives, like, outlives every X-Men, and the idea that, other than, I forget if it was actually in the comic or if it was an article I read, about how, like, Morrison was the first one, I'm sure not the first, but the first one to maybe do it on a grand scale, to, like, really acknowledge that, like, back with the original X-Men #1, there was this idea of like, okay, the next generation of humans are mutants, right? Or that's like, evolutionarily what's going to happen next. And then, Morrison took it in this different bend with regards to, okay, mutants doesn't necessarily mean the next step in mutant or in human evolution, but rather societal evolution. And just how people are reacting to them. But Hickman does a very good job of saying, especially with like how much technology is like catching up and taking over, Hickman does a fantastic job of saying, well, actually, it's the machines that are going to sort of leapfrog everything. Like humans are going to start messing around, like. Yeah, the machines they're going to use, like technology is going to take over. It's going to kill like an S-ton of mutants. But what's really going to kill the machines and the mutants are when the humans start, doing genetic engineering. And I forget there's some particular line about how once humans start delving into their own genome and messing around with their genetic code, that they're able to out mutant or out evolve mutants like 10-1. Which then, so that's kind of crazy because that, the idea of, well, yeah, that's true. As soon as humans start messing around with their genetic makeup, then they're going to be able to give themselves, laser eyeballs and lightning powers and regenerative abilities, like all in one. And so then there's the whole snowball effect of they hint at it, and I'm not nearly. By the way, caveat in case it was missed at all, and I'm sure by my co-hosts it was not missed at all. That I'm not nearly intelligent enough to understand this Hickman writing stuff. Like it was so wild. I'm sure that I missed 99% of it. But just the idea of like humans basically got there first in terms of manipulating their genetic code. But then they talk about how once Sinister gets involved, and he's not their savior, but like it's because of Sinister that they start manipulating the genetic code of mutants, and they start like dealing with these chimeras, and they start dealing with the fact that these humans are manipulating their genetic code. Why don't the mutants do the same and create these like super crazy mutants that have like multiple powers? So we see Rasputin, who's got Colossus's and Magic's and Kitty Pryde's mutant powers all rolled into one, and possibly other ones too. So just the idea of like mutants aren't necessarily like the next step, the nail in the coffin, because all of us grew up with like there's humans and then there's mutants, and in the future there will be machines that'll kill us all. Now it's like there's humans and there's mutants and there's machines that'll try to kill us all, but fuck that shit, because humans are actually gonna like do some genetic engineering crazy shit, and they're gonna like kill even the machines. Like they're gonna kill mutants and machines, and then we're gonna, I don't know how it works with regards to the Dominions and the warlords and the phalanxes and I don't even understand all that shit. That was some just absolutely crazy shit.
Yeah.
Well, Chimera goes back to the
Chimera.
Chimera goes back to the old like again putting, was it Griffin?
Yeah.
Snake or Scorpion.
Yeah, it's a couple
of
different things.
Like it's putting all these things together.
Are you talking about the mythological creature, the actual griffin?
Eagle lion, and
yeah,
the eagle lion is Scorpion, isn't it?
I don't know. It's Eagle lion or something.
No, fucking. There's no. What part of a scorpion do you think it was? It's not the feet or the tail.
Tail.
Just because I'm not remembering
Eagle
it.
lion and something. I can't remember the third part is. But yeah, so all the.
I think
stuff
it's
with
eagle
the
lion and
phalanx-
serpent. I think it's eagle lion and serpent.
Yeah.
It's a lion's female monster with lion's head, goat's body, and a serpent's tail.
All the stuff with
ghost body, huh?
The phalanx, and their like kind of techno organic, existence.
Yeah.
And all the stuff with Nimrod. I feel like that's a lot of unresolved. Well, obviously it's a lot of setups, a lot of unresolved plots. They're even in X-Men 1, they deal more with. Is it the phalanx? The phalanx in X-Men 1? I'm trying to remember where they pick out it. But I think a lot of that future story is still yet to be resolved, because they're going to clearly do more with those characters going forward. It is weird because we've had the phalanx in a few different interpretations through the years with the X-Men.
Yeah. I thought that what was so awesome, or what was so awesome, another thing that was so awesome, another element that was really great about the storytelling was that like he I forget which issue it is that he sets up, or it's one of the Powers of books, but he sets up like the phalanx as like these ultimate robotic bad guys, and then it's a Powers book or two later where he's like, oh, and by the way, you thought that they were the bad guys? Well, there's the next step above them, which is like a group of phalanxes. And then there's the next step beyond them, which is like a grouping of 10 of these warlord Dominion guys or whatever. It was like
Phalanx Society or whatever.
Yeah, you think the phalanx are bad? Like the phalanx serve these other guys. And there's so many going back to I can't believe Marvel allowed this, like he did a great job of like laying the new base camp for the X universe, and at the same time leaving so many not plot holes, but like just the ability to pick up loose threads that he sort of didn't finalize. I mean, he told a great story that had like a ton of openings for new writers, and if he's overseeing it, then that's fantastic. And I mean, this has the potential to be like Marvel Cinematic Universe level of good. I mean, within the X-Men universe, if they're able to run a tight ship, which I have less faith in Marvel doing that with the X-Men comics than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But the hope is currently alive, that he's able to sort of see, pull the puppet strings from behind the scenes and, make sure that people are telling good stories that make this cohesive tapestry that he's gotten a great groundwork for.
Because we kind of have the big council, right, with all the different groupings of people involved.
We haven't talked about that either. There's so much to talk about. Go ahead, sorry.
This does go back to what is going on with these characters, because how do they turn to Angel and they're like, hey Warren, so I mean Apocalypse is just going to be hanging out here for a while. That's okay. You're okay with that, right? Like the fuck? Like Angel would be like,
that's why
that goes back to the cult.
I know, right?
But this goes back to what I'm saying. This that history doesn't exist in this version.
Right. Well, it
could.
It could.
It also could not.
It reads as if this is all new ground that they're laying.
So,
is this the Warren we know, or is this the one that's brought from the past?
Maybe I misunderstood, but the scene with Moira and meeting Charles and opening her mind suggests that this plan was put in place a long time ago. Yeah. If this is 616, it means that Xavier has been building towards this since he first met Moira, which
she just has to remind him every time, right?
Yeah.
Every time she has to say, "Hey, by the way." Yeah.
She has to say, "Oh, you never change," and he says, "Thank you," and she says, "Motherfucker, that is not a compliment."
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that scene on the bench basically means that she's been manipulating the 616 or not 616 world since before the formation of the X-Men.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Which is a very odd retcon to think about. That means all that time Xavier knew about Apocalypse and what Apocalypse would do, and obviously it wasn't long after that, I think, that they also did the same thing with Magneto. I don't remember timeline-wise.
He doesn't. She does.
Yeah, but is that around the same time, or is that much later?
For which part?
Because they have the same sort of scene where they both go to Magneto after that to sort of say this. I don't remember if that's after a bunch of encounters with Magneto or if that's way back at that same sort of point in time.
So because we don't have Moira's sixth life in that timeline, because it isn't revealed until House 6 or Power 6, one of the two.
Is that the assassin? That's the assassin one, right?
No. In the timeline, they have the whole timeline of all of her lives, but they leave out 6.
Right, but they go into that in the final issue.
Yes, correct. So, issue 6 is just about her trying to... it's like she's playing a roguelike, and she's just trying to play it on easy mode and get as far as she can.
Yeah, but the idea of playing it on easy mode, especially if you say that this is the current Marvel Universe, means everything that's happened was to her plan since before the formation of the X-Men. What I don't know, or what I'm questioning is, does that mean everything Magneto's done has been part of her plan all along? Does that mean...
No, nothing's part of her plan. She's like, if we go this way, what happens? Okay, if I go this way, what happens? If I go this way, what happens?
She had an X-Men
she
code
basically
name.
opens up her mind and shows Xavier, before he's even tried the X-Men, that...
No, the X-Men are formed. They're already at the school. When they're sitting on that bench, they're surrounded by mutants and everything. They're already at the school. They're at the
maybe I need to relook at that. But that seemed to be her first encounter with Xavier.
Yeah.
So the thing is
which means
in those two universes,
those two,
which
lives.
Includes the current one where she
maybe.
That was the impression I got, is that that's where the foundation for this cult universe came from, was her basically opening her mind with her revelations to Xavier and Magneto to say, this is what we have to do.
And that's why it's not the Marvel, that's the regular universe, because in the comics, they go to college together or something, right?
They go to Oxford.
Yeah.
So the thing is in the first life, there's nothing. In the second life, that's where she wants to go meet him, but dies on the plane to get there. The third life is where she finally meets him. The fourth life, she falls in love and marries him, and it's all grandiose. Yeah. The fifth life is where she does it earlier than she's supposed to. Like, she meets him earlier. And whatever happens in that one. The sixth life is omitted. The seventh life is the assassin one.
Yeah.
Where she's just killing off all the Trask people and all their kids. It's 8 and 9 where she's gone, where she goes to Magneto and Apocalypse. And kind of goes like that's the continuation of the bad girl, like the assassin. But I'm going to go even further.
Right. Can you see the look of incredulity on my face? Is Brock reading that? There's no way that's from his memory.
No, it's the article I brought up earlier. I just skimmed it again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's no way that you got that from memory.
In Life 10, this is where she's taking all of the experiences that she had between 3 and 9, with whatever 6 was, and basically trying to make it the one that survives.
Yep.
Because this is apparently the last one she gets.
No,
but as I said, she didn't show up last week to Xavier and say, this is what you have to do now. She showed up far enough in the past that it paints a picture of everything that happened in X-Men
Xavier
comics.
Has had knowledge, yes. He's known the whole time.
Yeah. And that suggests that she's had a guiding hand the entire time towards molding the world into what she needed it to be, which means everything Magneto's done and everything Xavier's done was basically Moira's plan.
Black sticks and erased most of his memory except for a couple things.
Well, now we can think back to when Ryan was it Tom Brevoort who said that was the most significant page in X-Men history. The page of Xavier and Moira on the bench.
Yeah.
It didn't have the dialogue then. It was just the image of them sitting there, right?
Right.
So
it doesn't have much dialogue on that page anyway.
I know, but I mean, let's just take him at his word that it is the most significant page in X-Men history, then that would imply that the entire thing has been turned upside down.
Right.
Which, I mean, at the end of the day, I love that they have gone so batshit crazy. They can always retcon this story and be like, just kidding, that was the Shadow King controlling Xavier. That's why I don't know if you guys noticed, but we never see his face when he's, out of his helmet. As I'm sure you all did acknowledge. And they could always just kill Moira and be, Life 11, here we go. And also, I know I'm jumping around all over the place here, but all of this stuff also could have all happened. Even the whole going back to the original thing about where does the 616 fall? It all could have happened in her 6th life, because the 6th life is not even addressed in that circular timeline thing. I think that we're currently living in the 10th life, and that's fine or whatever. But
the 6th life is what you're talking about, Ryan, where it's that pinnacle classic X-Men life that we get, but the 10th life is the butterfly effect, or looks the same, but it's
they do. There is that scene on that chart where they say the 10th life from Grant Morrison's X-Men to now is a couple years. And you're like, well, I don't know if you can really make that work, because a lot of shit's happened in that time period.
Yeah.
They clearly were just Morrison's X-Men happened, and then today. And we'll just forget everything in the middle. And they kind of pushed that off to her 4th life or whatever, all the AVX. And
you remember when mutants were endangered for 5 minutes?
Yeah. Remember there were 104 of them or whatever?
190, 197, 198.
Yeah.
Don't
Remember when Cable had a story in multiple futures going back and forth with Hope?
Yeah, that was the greatest Cable story
I think
ever.
Part of the confusion is we haven't seen any outside Marvel universe.
Well, the FF
were in that one issue with Sabretooth.
Right.
I'm talking about in this current quote unquote current timeline.
Okay, but that's a great
to me it's the other having a background of the Fantastic Four and that kind of stuff. There's nothing about the world that says the Avengers don't exist, the Fantastic Four don't exist, that kind of thing. Until events from this book show up in the Iron Man book or the Cap book, which it absolutely feels like it should, I'm not going to be able to get on board with the normal 616.
Right. So what?
Especially because you would think, especially coming out of this, that they would have a month-long event or something around how the Marvel Universe deals with this.
Yeah. Well, and let's go to that let's go to that Sabretooth part.
Sabretooth got shafted.
Yeah. Again, I don't think too many of the X-Men would be we're okay throwing Sabretooth into the Sarlacc pit where he could be digested for 1,000 years. Sure, why not? 1,000 years, 10,000 years.
Man. Freeze him till we need him.
like, they're like, yeah, no, that's fine. We'll just execute him. It doesn't matter.
No, but they don't execute him. They don't execute him, and they're all trying to say, like, okay, what is the fair law? And here's the law: is that mutants can't
shove him in a fucking pit.
Yeah,
like,
but
they freeze him, right? It's like Demolition Man. They freeze him, and then they're going to unthaw him when they need him.
It's the moon door, the moon window. What do they call it?
No. They put him. They put him in exile, and doesn't he like try to escape in Moira's sixth life, or was that? That wasn't Wolverine, was it? That was trying to jump out of the. There was some. I thought it was Sabretooth in House 6 with the librarian. Where there's
Sixth life is the one where Wolverine kills her, right?
Kills her and the librarian.
Moira.
No, 6 is we don't know what happens in 6.
No, isn't that?
Yeah, we do.
No, nothing is said in 6.
Yeah, it is.
What the
No,
fuck?
nothing has been said about the 6th life.
Yes, it has. Yeah, House 6 was all about her sixth life, and I'm pretty sure, and that's the one where where Wolverine kills her, right? And she's like,
yes.
I figured it out.
No, but it's Power 6, but yes.
Or Power 6. It's Power 6.
Oh no, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. You might be right.
Yeah, I think it's House 6. Yeah.
No, wait.
That is the one where they can talk about her sixth life.
No, you're wrong. It's Power 6.
Okay. Well, either way. Yeah, but yeah, with fucking Sabretooth, holy shit. But, again, Sabretooth, he's just a dude. Fucking Apocalypse is sitting next to you. Like, he should be down that pit, too. All of these people should be down that fucking pit.
Yeah.
Unless that history never happened.
No. There's no. There's no way. If we're living in life
they
10,
have no tolerance going forward.
Yeah.
This was after
Exactly.
the nation
Yes.
state was already created.
Yes.
They've set the laws. He broke the law.
Oh, Sabretooth.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I was coming back to Ryan's point about Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if Apocalypse pulled what Apocalypse would inevitably pull, he should be down in the hole too.
And no
But
doubt
the
has
idea was
in
bringing
her
all these
10th
people
life.
there saying, you can come live here and live in mutant utopia, but you have to follow the rules.
We're good. It's okay. Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's all good. Bros before holes.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see that on the internet? There's no way that's a Ryan original. No. Is that a Higgins original?
It might be.
Bros before holes. God damn it.
So
yeah, no, I think that's the point is that, and I think that it's important to sort of going back to what Kevin said a minute ago. Like, yes, we need to see what the rest of the the Marvel Universe does with respect to this new paradigm shift within the X-Men. But I think that it was important that they brought the Fantastic Four in, and they didn't have it be only X-related, and they had, Cyclops being cordial with the Fantastic Four. And then it was a very weird scene to play out, right? Oh yeah, I'm just going to take Sabretooth. And they're like, no, you're not. And he's like, okay, well, no, you keep him then. But, I think that you should reconsider, mutant amnesty. It was very weird within an X-Men book. And then they somehow got him and he's going to pay the X-Men price. And, yeah, that was very weird. Bros before holes. I kind of the more I think about that, I kind of like that little slogan. But yeah, it'll be most interesting. So it was important to me, in my opinion, that they brought out of X-Men universe into this story, because otherwise you could have just chalked it all up to the Shadow King, and this is all within Xavier's brain or whatever, and nothing else happens. I wonder if there's anything going on with the Maker, because those helmets are like
it's identical.
It is identical. How can he do that?
It's Hickman. He loves that design.
No, I know, but how can he be okay being like, oh, I've got this really great look for Xavier. I'm gonna have him be this skinny, really smart guy, and he's gonna wear this brain hat. And it's gonna cover his whole head, and he's gonna have these giant machinations, and it's yeah, you literally have done that for years.
Maybe they'll walk by each other in the street and be like, "Hey, nice helmet." Just keep walking.
Well, what if it's who's the head guy from the Ultimate Universe? It's Franklin, right?
What?
You're talking about Maker?
The Maker?
Yeah. Maker is Reed Richards.
Reed Richards from the
Yeah.
What
That's
if
what we're talking about.
Richard just downloaded Xavier's brain?
I mean,
And this isn't even Xavier doing all this. It's
it is not Charles Xavier, or it is not. There's no way.
I mean, look, Hickman.
So then this can't be the real Marvel universe.
Correct.
It can. Dude, Hickman took an eraser to the whiteboard, and it's all whatever he draws in now. I mean, they obviously gave him Marvel isn't saying like, oh, is this real or is it not? Is this the age of Hickman? We'll check back in 3 months when we go back to normal. I think that okay, and look, I could very well eat my words. They taste delicious, but like they needed a shakeup, and Hickman pitched Marvel on this story. They said yes. And here we are. And so I believe that they are like, yeah, this is just what we're going to have be like how it is now.
Oh, I mean, and don't get me wrong, and this actually goes great. We got a couple questions on Patreon, which I'll get to here. I mean, this goes great into the segment, too, because, for the sales, I mean, the book sold incredibly well. I mean, these books are outpacing everything at Marvel nationally and everything at Marvel by us for a huge amount.
And to add on to that, I want to hear the rest of what you're saying. I'm sorry to interrupt, but for once, but like it's not like 99% of the time, if a Marvel book is going to sell incredibly well for you, it's because they're going to have some bullshit like we're killing somebody, and person.
It's one issue. It's not now 13 issues.
Well, and that too, but it's not like, who have we not killed yet? Let's go look at the Rolodex. Okay, we haven't killed Captain America. Okay, Captain America hasn't become a
Bryce,
Nazi before.
Didn't you enjoy reading these books?
Dude, I loved these books. Every book.
They were so much fun.
Yeah, every book, I was like, oh my god, what is going to happen now? Like, and then I would read it and I would be like, what the fuck just happened now? But they were great books. It didn't hurt that they had a great writer and great artists like on every one of them, which cannot be said about every Marvel book or DC book, and it can definitely not be said with the fact that Marvel keeps like shipping out some of their highest quality talent to like Conan and Star Wars and stuff like that, and get them out of there and get them back to the core Marvel books. He said half jokingly, but like. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I loved the art. I loved the writing. And not mostly, but a major thing that I loved, what I was just saying, is that like this was an event that was well written, total paradigm shift, that didn't involve like, we'll just kill some major character that hasn't been killed in the last decade, and that'll be like the thing, and then we'll bring him back next year.
Yeah.
I think you have the Patreon questions?
Yeah.
I think when I was saying this can't be the real Marvel universe, just to clarify that point,
please.
Like maybe this is the current status of the Marvel universe. What I was talking about is I don't see how it can be the same universe of God Loves, Man Kills.
Right.
For example.
Yeah.
Like this is just too vastly different. The characters behave differently.
Well, Hickman has a get-out-of-jail-free card, and that is Secret Wars, right?
Right.
Where the universe was completely redone. He can say whatever he wants.
Right.
That, everything was redone. None of those stories happened.
Yeah, okay.
So
they're all in
he's
one
got a bunch of
timeline,
get-out-of-jail-free cards. He's got all the different lives of Moira, and you're right, he's got all these reality-altering things. I mean, anything to do with Legion. I mean, I was a little bit surprised that Legion wasn't even discussed at all, or if he was, I maybe forgot it or missed it. But, that's what I think is so glorious about this whole thing, is that he has a ton of...
Wouldn't characters like Legion and Proteus, shouldn't they kind of, no resurrection on those guys either, because they can alter reality, they can shift the world.
Well, the thing is that it's what you say. It's the demolitioning man, right? It's putting them on ice and freezing them.
No,
that's what they can do.
They
save their brainwave scan, whatever, their mental thing, and then they go, "Oh, yeah, you died on that mission. We're not bringing you back."
Yeah,
right.
Well, they did something to Destiny.
Yeah,
she dies in that. Doesn't she? Or they. She dies at some point, but I don't know. They're not bringing her back. So clearly, you would think you would want everyone. Why not those characters? Oh, because you're hiding fucking shady shit, and you don't want them to read your mind to find out or to figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah, totally.
So a couple questions here. We got one from Verum Libertas. He says, Did X-Men #1 beat sales expectations in the shop? How many more copies did it sell than Rosenberg's Uncanny X-Men? And yeah, I mean, our numbers on X-Men #1 were huge. We still have a nice stack. I had no anticipation of selling out, but we went in for some of the big variant covers.
Well, most people that got House and Power stuck with...
Yeah, almost every single person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sold about 3 times what we did for Uncanny #1. About 3 times as many copies. Obviously, that nice art germ cover is going to help boost sales quite a bit.
Open order art germ cover.
Yeah, of course. But even with that, our standing order going forward puts it at still around 3 to 4 times what we were doing of Uncanny. Ongoing, towards the end of the run. So there's a lot of X-Men books coming out between all the new series.
Yeah.
We have Moira X, we have Wolverine still to come. So we'll see how well the other books do.
The ones coming... Marauders is this week.
Yep.
Then we have Fallen Angels.
Well, I don't know the release order, but there's...
Fallen Angels, Excalibur, New Mutants, and X-Force.
And X-Force, yep. There's 6 total.
Yeah. X-Men,
yep.
Marauders,
Yep.
Fallen Angels,
Yep.
Excalibur,
New Mutants, and X-Force.
Yeah.
And then Moira X, whenever that is, and
then
Wolverine
Wolverine.
is probably...
Is it
February,
Wolverine
March.
or Wolverines?
No, just Wolverine. So this is going to be a lot of X books, but I expect we'll get some good traction on these. I mean, the X-Men books have been suffering for so many years.
Yeah.
So it's good to see. It's good to see people really interested here. Mikhail says, "Oh, this is for you, Bryce. Oh, there's 4 questions here. Okay.
Woo, okay.
Bryce questions. We're going to be here for 6 hours.
Let's start at the very beginning. Rank the Summers family from coolest to lamest."
The Summers family from coolest to lamest. Well, that...
Well, let's see who we got here. We have Cyclops,
Yeah.
Jean Grey.
Yeah.
We have
Jean Grey, you're counting in the Summers family, huh?
Well, she's
not Summers, though.
Huh?
She's literally not Summers.
Actual Summers people.
Well, she's
Doesn't
No,
count.
she's
Actual
not.
Summers
No,
people.
yeah. I'm
but she's
agreeing with
Doesn't
Brock.
count. She's married in. Actual
Yeah.
Summers people.
I'm agreeing with Brock twice in a single episode. This must be my 5th life.
okay. So Cyclops, Havoc, Vulcan.
Starjammer.
What the hell?
His
Yeah,
dad.
it's Vulcan, right?
Is it Vulcan?
No,
what's the
you guys are
brother's
killing me.
What's the
The brother is Vulcan, but Starjammer is Corsair.
From Starjammers.
Corsair.
Yeah, Corsair. Yep.
Can you get out and hear me?
Then we have Rachel, Cable. Am I missing one?
Oh! Hey, did you guys notice in the in Moira's journal entries there was some cryptic thing about it didn't necessarily say the Summers, but it said something along the lines of like 2 beloved brothers, and they finally found out there was a third. Would you believe me if there was a 4th or something like that?
4th, yeah.
Did you guys read that? What was that? That wasn't her journal entries. That was
that was
somebody's gossip
Sinister's.
column. Sinister.
It was the Sinister Secrets or whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, totally, dead serious, I hate this interpretation of Mr. Sinister.
How is just this, flippant, sarcastic, giddy high school girl?
It's so weird.
Something that, Ryan should like.
He reminds me of Viserys on Game of Thrones. The Whisper guy.
You had me with, you don't like this interpretation, you lost me with Viserys.
Varys.
Varys.
No, I like Viserys. I don't like Mr. Sinister
No,
being
Mr.
that character.
Sinister's not like Viserys.
Varys,
Yeah.
Varys, Lord Varys. Yeah.
Who?
Lord Varys, the bald,
Varys? Sure. Whatever the guy's
cockless
name is
dude.
on Game of Thrones.
No cock.
The eunuch.
Varys. I promise it's Varys.
Okay. He's
No,
like
he's
this
not
weird.
even like that.
He's this weird, I
Yeah,
got
he's
these
definitely
weird
nothing like
whispers
that.
and secrets, and I don't know. It's a weird take for Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I just
Okay, so
anyway,
Bryce,
moving
you're going to rank the Summers.
Okay, so
We had
coolest Summers is obviously Cable. I mean, that's just as the number 1 Cable fan. I think that isn't the revote due soon? Anyway,
I think it would be next month, right?
so Cable easy number 1. Second coolest, it's got to be Vulcan. Vulcan is this badass that took over a galaxy and then died. Trying to hold his turf to a bunch of less cooler Summers family members and other X-Men that couldn't handle it. By the way, great story arc written by Warren Ellis, The Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire. If you guys have not read it,
Ed Brubaker.
That's what I said in my brain. Did I say Warren Ellis out loud? Because that's not what I said in my brain. Okay, was it Ed Brubaker? It wasn't Warren Ellis?
Yeah, it's Ed Brubaker.
I just have Next Wave on my mind. Please tell me Next Wave was Warren Ellis.
Yes.
Okay. Whew, dodged that bullet a little bit. Okay, so Ed Brubaker. Either way, great writer, great story. So yeah, Vulcan, second coolest. Okay. Third coolest. This is where it drops off precipitously. Corsair, third coolest. Summers. He's a feckin' pirate.
Kevin just face palmed right there. So.
He's a intergalactic space pirate banging a cat lady. Like, that is just, you don't get much cooler
How
than
is that not top of your list?
That is just too wild to not be like
that's
so
Cable's
cool.
grandfather, right?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and just assume, based on Kevin's face and hand motions, you're with me, right? Rachel's the best, right? She's the best of all of them. She's the coolest of all of them. I love Rachel.
Corsair and the Starjammers always struck me as being a completely odd fit in the X-Men books.
Yeah.
That just seems like something from another comic.
But dude,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I half agree with you, and like half think that like Claremont and Byrne were just so all over the place. And I don't know that. I know that they featured prominently in their run. I'm not sure that Claremont created the Starjammers. I don't know that for a fact, but yeah, I mean, like,
If Jean is not a Summer by marriage, or do you call Madeline Pryor? Then I'm giving it to Rachel as number one. Like, sorry guys.
No,
Rachel
wait, hold on.
Rachel
This
Summer,
is my okay. I'll curtail. I'll move it along.
Okay,
more
who's your
quickly.
number 4?
Okay, number 4 is Havoc. Havoc has been an Avenger, which I roll my eyes at even saying those words. He's been a bad guy, which I roll my eyes at even saying those words. He's got like a cooler power that he emits like tummy torpedoes, like his little
Tummy torpedoes.
he emits these like
Is dying.
his powers just emit like plasma blasts, which are circles out of his abdomen, which is like such a weird power. But he is way cooler than the Fifth Summers brother, which is Cyclops, who is super lame.
Ugh.
And you know who's even lamer?
I hate people that hate Cyclops.
You know who's... I don't hate him. I'm just saying that he's not one of the top 4 coolest Summers family members.
Putting Rachel at the bottom?
And then at the very bottom of the list is the character that has had probably less story time than Corsair, Rachel. Okay, well, other than Claremont's Excalibur run... Yeah, I mean, okay, take out Claremont's Excalibur run. She has less screen time than Corsair in Moira's 10th life, which is the life that we are living in.
No, I don't think so.
She's cool because she was the Hound. That whole little twist that is undeniably cool. But she has the worst costume of any of the Summers, and she was like
shit. I love that. I love her costume.
Yeah, because you're like a goth. Like, of course you like riveted spikes all over her costume. Like, that's literally if it was black instead of like bright red, that's what you would have worn to high school your whole like childhood. Like, anyway, so
hey Bryce, I just need to shout out across the store here for a second, Charlie. In ranking the Summers family, I'm not asking you to rank all of them 1 through 6. Where would you put Cable? Normal older Cable is number 1, according to Charlie.
Are we even addressing young Cable?
Well,
no, just Cable. You seem to imply you had another answer for young Cable. I don't want to get into that. He doesn't want to get into young Cable.
Well,
neither do I.
This is the next question by Mikhail. Why is Cable young and still infected despite being regrown? And this is a problem with the regrowing thing that like. Deadpool shouldn't have his cancer. Cable shouldn't have the techno-organic virus.
Why do you keep saying that? Deadpool is not a mutant. Why do you? Deadpool is not a mutant. Why do you keep bringing up Deadpool?
Deadpool's a mutant? What are you talking about?
We've talked about this before. He's not a mutant.
Deadpool's a fucking mutant.
Bro, there was an episode. Somebody, you know who knows? Bryce Larsen quotes fucking knows. There was an episode where I bet you like a week of comics, and then you like countered with like you'd buy me lunch. I ended up being right, and you never bought me lunch.
That sounds right. I was just prepping for the Doomsday Clock bet with Kevin.
But you will be paying off.
Oh, I can't. People can't wait for
Deadpool's
that.
a fucking mutant. Okay, well,
Dude,
at least
look it up. He's
Out
not.
across the store, Charlie, is Deadpool a mutant? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Charlie says yes.
He's part of the Weapon X program. Of course, he's a mutant.
No, he is not.
Do we
Bryce
have?
says no.
Do we have Magneto and Scarlet Witch back as mutants and Xavier
Magneto?
sorry, Magneto's kid now? Are they back?
Larsen.
I just googled
Larsen.
it. Deadpool is not a mutant.
What?
I just googled
Bryce
it
is
right now.
literally saying Deadpool is not a
He
mutant.
is not a mutant, dude. He had cancer. It was eating over his body. The Weapon X program gave him the regenerative ability. He's not a mutant. He's never been a mutant. We argued about this on a previous episode for new listeners.
Whatever. Anyway, let's move on to the final question. This is from X-Men #1. You may have seen some of this around, though. I don't know if you... Well, and it was heavily implied in the last part of Powers. Thoughts on the Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine Moon House setup? So, I don't know if you've...
not gonna know that.
I don't know if you've seen
You have
this.
to look it up.
There is a...
So I did. I saw some crazy Reddit thread that was like 17 people claiming to be feminists and very worldly with regards to sexual orientation. Certainly more worldly than I am. And they were all arguing about how Hickman is doing great things for the non-heterosexual community because he's allowing for these other, what do they call it? Transnormative, like, thinking. And by the way, like, I don't necessarily disagree. I just don't know anything about it.
The internet is convinced, for people that don't know, the internet is convinced that Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey are in a three-way relationship.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that there is open doors between their rooms.
Only rooms that have the open doors.
That are in the layout of the.
And she's in the middle.
The Summers clan house. Now, if you go back to that last page where they're all celebrating and they're all dancing, whatever the hell's going on, and the yub nub freaking
It's like the Matrix rave.
and Matrix.
Yes!
rave,
Oh my god, that's exactly what it's like! I couldn't stand the Matrix rave when it happened in the Matrix. It drove me absolutely... What?
So with that scene, right? If you imply the relationship between the three of them, you also have to imply a relationship between Emma Frost and Jean Grey.
Right. Because they pass beers as well.
Fanfic is being shoved into this book.
Oh, come on. Far from the first time that's been brought up. But you also have to then imply, based on another panel from that exact same scene, a sexual relationship between Cyclops and Havoc. Okay? Because it's the same scene. And I'm like, look, maybe they're willing to go there. I don't think Marvel's quite ready for incest in their comic books.
Yeah. So I didn't get any of that. I didn't even get the and look, I haven't read X-Men 1 yet because you haven't shipped it.
Well, it's in X-Men. I mean, the same scenes in Powers.
Right. Okay, so if it's that same scene, then yeah. So what I read when I read that was they're all having this weird. I likened it. Kevin hit the nail on the head for me. Like I likened it exactly to the Matrix rave scene, which I thought was like, those movies had a lot of problems, but I thought the Matrix 3 was like on its way back to being good. And then that rave scene happened, and I was like, oh, what am I even watching? And so, reading this story, I thought that it was just sort of implying, all these guys are just having a good time. I didn't know that. I thought that it was showing, look, like, there's no animosity. They're so happy and cult-like that even Cyclops and Wolverine are hanging out with Jean Grey together, and there's no animosity, which there is 100% animosity every other time that they ever hang out, the three of them. And then I see all over the internet this thruppling and this hot wifing and this cuckolding, and, like, this is all stuff. And I was like, I don't even know what this is.
there's a 0% chance that we see a three-way relationship between these characters in any sort of explicit, laid-out way, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's the scene, and so people are allowed to theorize, and it will never be brought up again, in my opinion.
Right. No, I agree.
Could somebody please tell me how Major X fits into all this? Anybody?
Is Major X a mutant, Bryce? I know it's your favorite book of 2019. So
Deadpool is definitely not a mutant. Let me tell you a funny story. Is that I have. By the way, why did your volume go way down all of a sudden? Is that something that you did or that I did?
I can hear you just fine. We did look it up, and we probably had this conversation a year ago, and I don't remember. Deadpool is a mutate. It's close enough to me. He's a mutate.
Well,
I have
you're wrong.
Sinister Secret on Jean Grey and all of them.
Okay.
So the fifth secret for Sinister in Powers 4 reads, he's the best he is at what he does. She's married with a kid. The husband knows exactly what's going on, but who is he to point the finger? He's up to much the same and more. Maybe this is just the new normal on the mutant island.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So, yeah, maybe that's just cuckolding. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I mean, what I was saying was I just don't know enough about that whole life that... Anyway.
I mean, Cyclops already had his new wife dressing up like his dead previous wife, so, I mean, whatever. What are you going to do?
Yeah, but I agree with you that there's 0% chance that this is brought up again. Bringing it back to that classic Major X, I've bought all of them, I believe, from you, Mr. Higgins, and they are sitting in my closet unread, in my to-read pile that I may or may not ever get to. Right. Kevin is right; is over 30.
We have one more question. Not X-Men related, but we're going to get to this from Julian Titus on Patreon, and then we have a couple of Twitter questions. He says, I'm reading the Simonson Thor omnibus and loving it. I realize how much I've missed having thought bubbles in comics. I feel like it's a great way of getting insight to not only the main character, but even supporting characters and villains. Thoughts on the loss of this kind of comic writing. Sure, sometimes Claremont could get cheesy with it on X-Men, but I really miss it.
Yeah, so I'll interrupt everybody and go first. I miss it, but there was also in Hickman's interview with regards to House and Powers, he mentioned it was brought up that he's using lowercase. I'm not sure if you guys caught that or noticed it or care at all, but it was noticed that he was using lowercase instead of just all caps, and he said that it's because you can see more art that way because the word bubbles are smaller. So I would say that it is the same. I think almost universally nowadays, the thought bubbles are in the way that they do them is they just do them as those like rectangles of text, and it's implied, whatever. That
it's narrative. It's not
narrative. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for.
I think it's also the art has gotten better in portraying like emotions and kind of some of those thoughts.
Disagree. Back to good old Bryce. Totally disagree. I think that the art is not necessarily any better or worse. I just think that they are trying to showcase the art more and finding better ways with newer technology to. Think about how much computers have changed comic books in the past decade. They're showing off more art, better or worse. John Romita Jr. For just being able to get more thoughts across, characters' thoughts across.
All right. This is from Jeremy. He says, do you think Hickman purposely wrote in some major plot holes to set up disasters in the future?
Oh.
Krakoa's flowers, for example, if they get to the wrong hands, it's all over. Cerebro was a whole different level now with the reproducing mutants. It's going to get messy.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sort of touched on that earlier. Like, there are... And I don't know if we call them plot holes or plot threads or untouched, like, I don't know what you call it, but, like, yeah, there are so many threads to pull on. That, there could be great stories for forever. But what my biggest fear is that, like, this first run will go really well with him as the showrunner, and then if this like cements itself as the new norm, then they get this like then they get a second generation of writers in there, and maybe Hickman leaves because as he's wont to do, and then it goes tits up, and then it's like, oh, okay.
Well, Jeff Loeb is looking for a new job, so maybe he'll come back and start showrunning the X-Men after Hickman.
Wait, hold on.
Going back to Julian's question real quick.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking about the Claremont thought bubbles.
Yeah.
I think the issue there used to be they would have these soliloquies, but it would all be taking place in the span of time it takes to throw a punch. And so that's why it kind of reads odd.
Yeah, that's a great...
I do miss thought bubbles. I like them. I'd love to see somebody just go old school and do, just in one book, bring back the thought bubble.
Well, I would be shocked if, like, some cheeky book like Deadpool or Gwenpool, because they love to, what's the word? Not necessarily break the fourth wall, but do what hasn't been done, challenge the norm. Like, because thought bubbles have gone away, that's, like, exactly something that Deadpool or Gwenpool would do. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I missed. I'm sure Higgins' hilarious joke because I just opened Twitter for the first time in like a month, and I'm trying to see if I missed any questions.
I want to say they're using him in the Jimmy Olsen book, but I don't remember. That book's great too. You gotta look that up.
Wait, hold on. I want to keep talking about X-Men, but wait. If you consider Joker a superhero movie, then we have a best new superhero movie ever. Do you really think that?
How far back did you scroll to find that?
It was the first thing that came up on October 4th from Bryce Larsen Quotes. It was just Twitter's algorithm just popped that to the top of my feed. I'm not sure if that's the last time
Joker's fantastic. Joker is
but like
absolutely.
Let's just say that he's a superhero, which is like holy fucking shit, hold me back. But like let's just say he is. You think that I haven't seen Joker. You think that Joker, if he's a superhero, that it's the best superhero movie ever?
I mean, I think Joker's the best comic book movie ever. I know Kevin Sharp agrees with me there too. So no, he's coming back. There he is.
Hey, Bryce.
Yeah, Toby.
You really want to ask Charlie's opinion of the Joker?
Very crafty. You send me on an errand to go look at Jimmy Olsen, and then slip that in while I'm away from the mic.
Oh, I didn't know you were gone. Wait, Kevin, can you bring some sanity to this? I'm just reading this. This is not real.
Well, you could go back and listen to our Joker episode.
Well, I did, but for new listeners.
Oh, Charlie, you want to weigh in here?
I think Charlie needs to weigh in. I think you may be surprised because he loved it.
No, I'm not saying...
I'm not a fan at all of the Joker movie.
I have not seen the Joker movie.
Better than that Harley Quinn Batman movie.
Yes, I did like it better than the animated Harley Quinn Batman movie.
Nobody's comparing real movies to animated movies, you crazy bastard.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, I want to get back to X-Men here. A new best superhero movie ever? Like, how do you guys even record with this guy? How does this guy even run a successful business? This is absolutely crazy.
Quick question.
Wait, are you talking about Ryan?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go back. Bryce Larsen Quotes doesn't have this one because we weren't on air when you said this.
Well, then it's fake news, and you can...
Your quote was, and listeners can figure out who you were talking about, how are you so good at business and so bad at life?
To be honest, I'm not sure whether Higgins said that to me or I said that to Higgins.
Question from Armando on Twitter.
Yeah.
He asks if we still think House of Powers takes place in a different timeline.
No.
So we'll skip that. He says, but do you think it cheapens the story by having characters just get recloned after they die? I wasn't a big fan of that.
Yeah, totally cheapens them. I mean, I think that there's going to be more story about that. I think that this whole cloning thing is totally wild. We didn't even get introduced to it except for, like, the very last issue. It's like, oh, and by the way, they're all immortal. They all have, like, backup downloads. They're all going to, like, die on missions and then come back. It absolutely cheapens it. Like, that whole, by the way, that whole, like, thing in space about killing the mother mold, that was awesome. That was so cool. That whole story was so badass. And then like you like, oh, they sacrificed themselves, but it was to stop this like Technarch phalanx whatever machine from like coming online. So they sacrificed themselves for something real, and then it's like, oh, but by the way, we have backup copies. They can regenerate them every 3 days, and they're getting stronger by regenerating, or like by reborning mutants. They're getting stronger, and so they're going to be able to do more and more and more, and it's going to be exponential. It was like, oh, so this is like literally going to be easier and easier and easier to the point of like it's too easy. And I love the whole like, walk in with gold balls next to Proteus, next to, I don't even remember who else, but like it was just like
Hope was there.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was brilliant, that whole idea of like it takes 5 of them to this 5-step process, and then like Professor Cloud Xavier re-uploads the latest version from the cloud.
So when does Gold Balls get shot in the head, and they're like, uh-oh?
No, they already talked about that because they have a clone ready for each of them.
Yep.
That's ready to be...
Brock is right. I'm not agreeing with Brock for the 3rd time. I'm just saying that he happens to be correct.
I'm just waiting for them to bring back Wolverine just to find out that one cell of Wolverine survived and he came back anyways.
Yeah.
Well, there could be a whole story about Wolverine, like all the times that he's died, they thought he was dead, they brought him back, and like that. There's Brock's Wolverine's book. I guess it would have to be Wolverine's Volume 2 because they already did that. But yeah, I mean, unsarcastically, I think that's good fodder for future story. The X-Men that they think are dead, and then they bring him back, and then it's like, nope, not dead.
Well, you can get the dark Cerebro, where Cerebro's pumping out mutants and they go bad and all this stuff, and then they kill them off, but they don't they reset them before that happened, but everybody's looking at them differently.
Oh, there you go.
Because they went bad.
Hey, Marvel, hire this man.
I have a question from Enzo.
Wait, did I just tell a story that Bryce wants to hear?
No, that was sarcasm, bro.
I think
it didn't come across.
God damn
It's just taking the win. Again, the line. Over the line.
It's for Bryce, but it's also for Toby.
Oh.
This is why doesn't Gambit get any love in the comics? When was the last time he had any real presence in an X-Men book?
Astonishing.
Okay, because Gambit is actually in the real Marvel universe, and he totally is like, fuck this shit, I'm too cool for it, I'm just hang out by this wall and wait it out.
I am not gonna lie, I was very disappointed with all of the cult, like everybody's happy-go-lucky, to not have a single picture. Because, by the way, Larraz does a great rogue. Pepe Larraz does a great rogue from his time with Uncanny Avengers. To not get any Gambit and Rogue, even a single scene of them just hanging out together. I mean, in the theme of what the internet's getting on fire about, he would have needed to pass her a beer. But it would have made me so happy to see them even get a single scene. And to not get a single scene was a little lame when so many lamer X characters got scenes. Like Goldballs is literally one of the 5 most important X-Men ever, and I'm just like, that hurts me inside. So yeah, I'm more upset than Toby because I'm a bigger Gambit fan than Toby.
What? All right. Question for everyone, but of course, obviously, is aimed at Bryce too. He says, "This is from Robert." Says, "Is Hawks and Pox a high point for X-Men comics, or in the end, do you feel it was just another high potential but limp ending affair?"
What did you call it?
Limp ending.
No,
affair.
before that.
That implies it had an ending.
No, before that.
Just another.
No, before that.
Hawks and Pox?
Yeah.
House of X and Powers of 10. Hawks and
Wasn't
Pox.
that a thing that people played that were little circular discs that they threw at each other's faces?
Okay, anyway, so...
In the 90s?
This Pogs?
Oh.
I was like...
Thank you,
It
ladies.
was like Beyblade? I was like, Beyblade? Like, what are you talking about?
I just remember everybody collecting these stupid little round thingies that they threw at each other's faces.
You want to be Hawaiian? You know all about Pogs.
No, I don't.
Anyway, can I go now?
No.
Look, even as myself, noted not X-Men fan that has read multiple thousand X-Men comic books, right? I mean, yeah, House and Powers is a damn good story. It's a cool idea. My concerns about how it ties into the overall Marvel universe does not lessen my liking of the book. It's a really cool idea, and I want to see where they go with it. I don't believe it's the real X-Men books, but it's a cool idea. Age of Apocalypse wasn't the real universe, but that was a cool story, right? I mean, God, again, I said, talk about DC. Some of my favorite DC comics of all time are not the real things, right? All-Star Superman is not a real Superman story.
White Knight. White Knight's great, right? Yeah.
It's its own thing, right? It is not in the regular universe. So, the X-Men books have been underserved for years at this point.
Big time.
This is obviously a high point. We'll see where it goes. We're only at the beginning.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think that's it. Okay, that's the best. Yeah, the best the best cap on that you could have put. To me, I was coming into this thing thinking that it was going to be a self-contained story, and not disappointed that it wasn't. I just had no idea that this was not like a self-contained story so much as it's a prologue for the next half decade of X-Men books. Or, whatever, more or less. But, I definitely thought that it was all going to, sew itself up, and what a fool I was to think so. But, yeah, it was an incredible story that really, set the stage for what we're about to start reading for the next several years. And so, I'm certainly not unhappy. I'm very excited. Like I said, I'm terrified at some of what they said could happen. But I think that, as we've also said, he left enough threads open for writers to pull on that there will be some great stories to tell in this new paradigm shift that was obviously thumbs upped by Marvel. So yeah, I'm very excited.
Kevin and Charlie, you guys are big X-Men fans. Kevin maybe more old school. Where's this rank kind of, stick the landing as far as where it started?
Well, in terms of where it started, it definitely has me interested to see where it goes, but I don't really have a sense of even what the story I'm going to be getting going forward is.
Right.
So, like Bryce, I was kind of hoping for some resolution.
Yeah, I definitely.
I don't even feel like there was a resolution to these two series in such a way that I could be like, okay, this as a self-contained thing is amazing, because it just sets up all these new books where I have no clue where they're all going.
And it was very So and it was also so jarring to, even in issue 1, not knowing that this was all a prologue, but to see Xavier standing there with his Maker helmet, telling Jean, telling Jean, it's okay, it's safe now, you're in Krakoa, it's all good. It's what the what? To leave everything, all this garbage that we've been dealing with for several years, not garbage, that's not fair, but you know what I mean. To leave it all behind and to just accept yep, Xavier's here. This is the new normal, and we're about to embark on 6 to 12 weeks of setting up the new normal. It's very weird, and it was very weird with that whole Matrix 3 rave scene / cult scene where it's okay, they're gods now, and the world, and they're impressing their authority upon the rest of humanity, and I kind of left it thinking, wow, Moira's lived these 10 lives. I don't think 10 is nearly enough to have figured this out, because it already seems like there's enough avenues for trouble right now. And this is her 10th life, where she should have figured out so much by now. And it already seems like there's a lot of trouble that could be had. So, yeah, trepidation abounds, even though I know that you were asking Kevin and Charlie.
I like what they did with Moira. I'm not sure I like that they used Moira to do it. And what I mean by that is, I like the power. I like sort of setting it up. But the more I thought about it, the more what Moira sort of was almost the ideal of how mutants and humans could live in peace. She was completely an ally. The whole emphasis around the legacy virus, that it had jumped to humans with her, all kind of got wiped out with just one sort of...
I don't know, dude.
It happened, but she was like a golem, right? They killed her with some Shi'ar golem or something. That's what they said in the little notes.
Yeah, I hate to disagree with Charlie because Charlie loves everything, and I hate to not like anything unless it's got DC in the title. But I love that it was Moira. Moira is the one, I mean, the most long-standing human in the X-Men's universe, and I do agree with what you're saying, Charlie, about like she represented the sort of Xavier's dream, but I love the idea that, oh, and by the way, the reason that she was with the X-Men like most consistently as a quote-unquote human all this time was because she was actually a mutant. And, you know, maybe that's a whole nother story about, you know, hey, how did in all that time that Xavier was wearing Cerebro not pick up Moira was a mutant? Like, oh, by the way, there's one right here.
But they make it seem like he knew all along based on that scene on the bench and opening her mind and that kind of thing. Like, from a
that's true. Okay, you're right. I take that back. You're right.
Never been a human,
right?
As far as Xavier knew, meaning there was no significance to even the realization she could catch the legacy virus. Because if she was a mutant all along, then the legacy virus absolutely would be at risk of her catching it.
So
it just it changes a lot of the dynamic in sort of the past in such a way that it I can say that I wouldn't necessarily read those stories the same way anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. I have not gone and reread through the past 60 years of X-Men history since I finished reading this, but I imagine that Moira is in some books with Sentinels that do not target her, and to that I would be like, okay, well, how is that the case? Because whatever, but. I mean, that's super nitpicky, so, that isn't...
Well, but maybe because this is not that timeline.
And that's where, for me, when it comes to some of this...
No, but she would still... Wait, what? She would still be a mutant. Wait, what?
Well, her mutant power is what sets everything over, and we've seen X amount of times mutant cures, mutant suppressants, that kind of thing, where it's entirely possible that... in the last timeline, she doesn't even know she's a mutant because somebody suppressed it before her power manifested, giving her all the memories.
Or Bryce, what I was getting at was those, if you go back and just start reading at Giant Size X-Men 1, or wherever Moira first appeared, maybe none of those adventures happened in this current timeline.
Right. So, okay, that's a great answer, because, so maybe she has just learned to, in... life number 10, avoid Sentinels because she had that badass Sentinel killing frenzy in life 7 or whatever that was, and she was
or
like,
whatever, yeah.
No, that's a great answer. That could be. And look, again, that was super nitpicky of me. I'm not. It's fine. Can we talk about more of this? Can we talk about the ruling council? Can we talk about the laws?
I have a couple of questions.
Can we
Let's get. I have a couple more questions. We did get a few questions from people. Things we kind of already answered. So if you didn't get your question asked, that's probably why. But from the appropriately named Xavier on Twitter, he says, "When Hawks and Pox dropped, I was and still am very behind on X-Men. Anything I definitely need to read before hopping into the new books."
No,
and I think that's a clear no. You could go into this completely blind.
It was so jarring.
It might be better if you do go in completely blind.
Yeah, that's completely blind. I'm fine.
Well, I think the jury's still out on that one, Brock. But
there is a.
Just kidding.
There is a.
Don't insult the man that ships your books.
I don't want to talk Watchmen here too much because I think we'll maybe save that for next week. Maybe I should talk about maybe a couple episodes.
Watchmen.
I've watched. But this is a case where. I feel like some knowledge of these characters is required. You probably don't need to know much about Hope and Gold Balls, but I would say if you're like, I've never read an X-Men comic, this is probably not the best place to start.
It's Hickman, no.
Well, okay, I agree and disagree. I would just add that, like, so many great writing... so many well-written stories, not necessarily even in just comics, but, like, there's great color to be gained if you are familiar with the entire history of the X-Men, and you don't need to know anything about the X-Men to jump in here. So, like, if you jump in here, you can start here, and everything going forward will be, clean slate for you. All you've gained if you've been reading X-Men for all these years is just extra color and, isn't that like crazy? Like, I don't know, just extra, the art that they show. For example, the Cyclops and Wolverine and Jean Grey, like
maybe. I mean, especially the future stuff with Nimrod and the Phalanx. They don't really get into that stuff too much.
Yeah,
and was it Mother Mold or whatever? Like, I feel there was a lot of that that's left really open, to the point where I've read tons of these stories, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know where this takes place or what they're doing here, but you just kind of take it for what it is. I think if you have at least a little bit of X-Men knowledge, you're better served. I would not hand this to someone as their first ever X-Men comic book. But it is
true, but you wouldn't do that with any Grant Morrison book of any kind either, I don't think. I mean, I think that some crazy batshit writing like Hickman's or Morrison's, you wouldn't hand that to, but I wouldn't hand it to any beginner of any kind, no matter what it is. And I don't know.
But I guess also, who would I hand this to that doesn't know who the X-Men are, right? I mean, at least people have seen the movies more than likely, and they're like, yeah, I know those characters.
All right, good point. Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't know who is this Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
Like, why is
the cartoon?
The cartoon is so good, Toby.
Yeah. Do.
Okay, don't do that.
X-Men are related, but not related to Hawks and Pox. Bryce, this is from Benjamin. What is your thoughts? Because I've not talked to you since this has all been official, I don't think. What are your thoughts on the X-Men's future in the MCU?
Oh, dude, wait, I feel like I've talked to you guys a million times about this. What?
Did we not talk about this? Have you been on since...
No, he hasn't.
I don't think you've been on since the Fox deal went through official, has it? Have you?
Yeah.
I think we were talking, but we didn't talk about it because there was no movie out at the time.
Yeah, maybe not, but like, I mean, has anything changed since the last time I did talk to you guys? Like, yeah, this is like the most incredibly exciting news cinematically ever, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of, Channing Tatum's Gambit is dead. I couldn't be more happy about that. Deadpool is staying rated R. I couldn't be more happy about that. Like, I just hope that they do it right. I mean, it's all the same feelings that I've had this whole time. I just always assumed that it was going through. So I've been talking about it like it was going through this whole time. But, I'm incredibly hyped. I just, man, it would be so tough to do like anything remotely as good with the X-Men as they did with the Avengers. And so just like Liverpool's title challenge this season, I have a hard time getting my hopes up because there's so many, pitfalls that are around to fall in. Like, yeah.
Is House and Powers the template for the MCU movies? Kevin just
my God! Can you
passed out in
imagine?
his chair.
That's like saying, is the Legion of Three Worlds the template to introduce the Legion in a DC movie?
Yeah, I totally agree with Kevin. But like, are you crazy?
I just ask questions.
If you're setting them up to be the villains potentially,
yeah.
Bryce, we had talked about before on a previous episode. One idea for it was do Giant Size 1, have the original team. Something happens to them, and so open your story with recruiting the international team to go on the mission to find the original team.
I mean, yeah, I love that. I totally agree. I think that's brilliant.
I don't need day one founding the X-Men.
No, you just have that already have been established.
Right. I could skip that.
Right, and they've been doing a great job, the MCU, of like, like they did with, I guess, Spider-Man is the most recent example, but skipping over the origin story and just alluding to it because everybody knows it. I don't know what they're going to do because everything they did with the MCU, it was like not what I thought they would do. In a good way. Like, if I ran the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it would have been a dumpster fire, like 27 films in a row. like they did such a good job with every step of that, and I would have like advised against it.
Captain America? Nah. More cable movies, please. Thank you.
Exactly. Since I got so much heat from that Captain America opinion. I still haven't watched Captain America. I own it, and I just still haven't even watched it. But my son is getting to the age where I'm going to get to start watching these things, and he's actually going to understand it. I take him to movies now, and he's like, I just love my son, my little idiot 7-year-old son. He doesn't know what's going on at all, but yeah, he's going to start to get it more. So I get to watch all these movies with him, and it'll be like for the first time. So I'm very excited. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very trepidatious about the future for the X-Men cinematic universe. I feel like it has greater potential than the Avengers, but I just feel like there's no way that I don't get disappointed because my expectations are just too high.
Rapid fire. This is for all of us. We're going to go around in a circle. Bryce, I'll get to you last.
Okay.
This is from M on Twitter. Number of questions, rapid fire. Are you sticking with the X-Men Hickman book, the main book, Brock? Are you going to keep reading it?
Yes.
Kevin?
No, because I'm not going to support a $4.99 monthly title.
I don't think it's $4.99 monthly, is it?
Well, number one is.
Well, number one's oversized. I don't think it's $4.99 monthly.
Then yes.
Toby, you haven't read House of Pirates yet. Pick up that hardcover when it comes out in a couple of months. It's actually they're shipping it before Christmas. It's coming out really soon. I think you'd like it. Art's really nice. I think you'd like it. Well, you like it as much as you like a crazy Hickman book. It doesn't seem like your speed, but I think you'll like it.
Are there Gundams in X-Men number 1?
No, but Magneto is incredible in X-Men number 1.
Isn't it Lionel Francis Yu?
Yeah, I'm going to keep reading it.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's no Gundams. I'm sorry. The question is, am I sick of it?
No. Are you going to read it?
Am I going to read it?
Yes.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Read X-Men. Yes. Yes. And yes, I also am going to continue reading X-Men. So, the non-Hickman books, Brock, are you going to follow any of those?
Percy and X-Force.
Okay.
Those are the two that I'll read the first issue of all.
Just check them out.
I'll read the first issue of Marauders and Excalibur. I'm completely skipping Fallen Angels.
Okay.
I'm interested in the Moira X title.
Yeah.
But not a lot of the others have really got me jazzed.
Toby, check
New Gambit ongoing. Totally.
We'll get to that in a second. Check your Facebook because I sent you pictures of all the Fallen Angel variant covers featuring Psylocke. So let me know which ones you
Those
like.
I'm totally reading and air quotes. Yeah.
Charlie.
Right now, other than the Hickman ones, the Moira one's the only one that really, really grabs me. I'll probably check out various stuff
We have no
when I'm at the
date for
shop.
that, by the way. Like, that's down the road, so, yeah.
Like, I'll check out various things at the shop, but I'm not going to go out of my way to read the Marauders book, for instance.
Okay. Bryce, I think you're all in. Yeah.
No, I mean, so yes and no. So I was ready to break Higgins' hearts, ladies and gentlemen. I was getting ready to cut way back on my X orders because I saw some of the writers that I've never heard of and some of the art where I was like, Jesus Christ, this is the worst. Just for the covers, at least for the covers and what was announced for the interiors. But then I understand that Hickman's being, as I've mentioned ad nauseum, sort of a showrunner for this phase, or I don't know what you would even call it. But so yeah, I'm in for every one of them for the first arc. Now, some of them, the art is so reprehensible that it would be tough to believe that like there's like much better writing than the art. Look, you don't put who's the worst artist that I just. You don't put Frank Quitely with.
What the son of a bitch.
You don't put Frank Quitely with Jonathan Hickman because people are not gonna like.
It's like the highest. That's like the highest selling image book for the last 5 years. Probably would be a Frank Quitely Hickman book.
But in my
Bryce,
mind,
you don't put Cy Spurrier with Romita Jr., okay?
No. Half the opposite. You don't put Cy Spurrier with Jim Lee, and you don't put John Romita Jr. with Jonathan Hickman. Is what I was basically going for. And so when I'm
trying to come up with your dream book.
Yeah, that sounds like my nightmare book. When there's a when you're saying when I'm seeing these covers for some of these books and I'm just like, oh, I know that artist and that is not art I can get behind. Then it's like, okay, the writer is not going to be much better. And so then I'm like, okay, how long am I going to? So I'm in for all of them for the first arc. Because Hickman's like show running this thing, and if it like continues to have like a good general, oh yeah, sorry, that's my.
Kevin was just looking at me. In for the first arc. Thank you, Bryce.
And you.
Fine. Oh yeah. No, I mean, I'll read them all until I don't. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, if I worked at a comic store, I would read all of them.
Sure,
just to try them out. Yeah, for sure.
I'll read them till I...
When I worked at a comic store, I read literally everything.
Yeah, I mean, X-Men is literally the only comic book I am... Well, and Doomsday Clock, I am current on, right? Like, my DC stuff, I'm a few weeks back, so I don't think there's a book.
How about your New 52 stuff?
I know, I still got quite a bit of that left.
Yeah.
But I've read...
What are we going to destroy for him, and he's still going to read
I've read X-Men 1, right? I mean, yeah, so I've read all of them with the week they came out, which is shocking for me for most books. So, I mean, I will not keep that up with all the titles, but I will put them all on my read list and throw them in my gigantic stack of unread comics and get to them one day. So, I want to see where they go with these books. And final
still in rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Final one. Final question. What other franchise characters would you like to see get this style of reinvention? And this is a thought, so I won't just give me a shout out, because I actually feel like
team wise,
it didn't really. New 52 was a little bit like this, right? Yeah. I mean, it was this real sort of like from the ground up, let's reconstruct these, or deconstruct and reconstruct them in a kind of a fresh way.
Like what family?
It didn't really stick, right? But this isn't like, not that this has never happened. There's been wild reinterpretations of characters this time, in the past, but it's kind of modern day. This is really the first real big one. But I think Morrison did a very similar take, right? And when I read the first issue of House, when I got it from the Marvel rep, I was like, this reminds me a lot of Morrison, because he's just like, look, we're going to take the base concept but throw away a ton of stuff. So,
yeah.
So what do you want to see? Like,
this is a franchise. I mean,
rapid fire. Anybody?
The couple that I think they've already kind of done. I think Green Lantern had its Hawks and Pox, right, with Rebirth.
Yeah,
I think the couple have already happened that I would like to see.
I think I'd like to see the New Gods done, like legitly, completely going into it. They've kind of touched on it here and there.
Smirgle kind of touched on it, but
not a full blown New Gods kind of revamping.
See, the New Gods are one of those things that I love most when it feels like it's getting closer to Kirby's, because I've tried to do some revamping a number of times, and nothing ever. I enjoy the stuff that feels more like a love letter to what Kirby did than the stuff that tries to go all out there.
My other answer would be, I was about to say something that I realized it already happened, and Hickman did it. It was Fantastic Four. He already did it, right?
Yeah.
So
I would have said Legion of Superheroes, but
Bendis is doing that.
Oh, really? He is? I hadn't heard. Is there a new Legion book, Ryan?
You should read those two.
Yeah. Toby is fucking staring at me. Who does Toby want besides the Muppets? Fraggle, Muppets, right? Labyrinth.
I think there's
Crystal,
I think there's some mileage you could really get out of Challengers of the Unknown that hasn't been tapped.
They tried with
I know. That's thus my preface with, I think there's some mileage that hasn't been tapped.
That last one was just
thus my comment.
Justice League International.
Hey, that'd be cool. Other than the characters that have already kind of had this done, Bryce, anyone you want to see sort of get this sort of like pretty?
No, it's okay. Rapid fire. So my first answer. This is, by the way, spoiler alert, not going to be rapid fire. So my first answer would have been Green Lantern, but I 100% agree that they just did it with Rebirth. My other answer might be Fantastic Four, but you are also right, inexplicably. How are you right so much in such a short amount of time that Hickman already did it with Fantastic Four? Even though, by the way, I've only heard that. I still haven't read that, and that's one of my bigger failings as a comic book fan. So I would love them to do it properly with Avengers, because I don't think that the whole Bendis era. I thought the Bendis era of Avengers was incredible. I just don't think that it was the same like what we're looking at here. What we're looking at, I guess the question is trying to get behind is, okay, what you want to see the similar treatment. Okay, well, what is the treatment? The treatment is let's throw everything out the window and then let's restart this campaign that's 60 years old. Let's reboot it, kind of. And so I would say that I either want it with Avengers or Batman. I think that we don't need 17, Robins, and we don't need 17 Batgirls, and we don't need,
Excuse me?
we definitely don't need what's the Batgirl that you really like the most, Toby?
Cassandra Cain.
Cassandra Cain.
Hey.
We definitely don't need Cassandra Cain.
Don't you realize what I was doing? I was not answering.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I love the idea of, and look, we are still, this is all prefaced with the giant asterisks of we are still so early doors here. I would love to see this work out. And then, if it works out, I would love to see this on every giant franchise that exists in comics. I would love to see it on Batman. I would love to see it on the Avengers. I would love to see somebody say, okay, there's just like, I guess X-Men was like a prime candidate because there's so much unwieldy, time-travel-y mumbo-jumbo. I think that there's too much unwieldy stuff in the Batman universe. I think that Tom King's doing an amazing job. I mean, don't get me wrong about that. But I think that there's like a lot of loose ends that could be sort of shored up there. And I think that the Avengers is also a good, just because mega superhero team. I don't know enough about the Justice League to say whether or not I think that they could benefit from a similar experience. Who knows? Maybe they do. I just don't know enough about them. But
Morrison did?
Kinda, yeah.
So I've also never read the Morrison Justice League stuff, so my bad. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess my default would always go just to the titles that I like the most. So that would be X-Men, Batman, stuff like that. So that's my rapid fire answer.
All right. And that's an episode. That's House and Powers.
Woo!
Yeah, we'll dip more into X-Men.
This is like a movie-length episode, by the way.
What are we clocked at right now?
2 hours? Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, we've had...
Not too bad for a Bryce episode.
yeah, I was going to say kind of short.
Don't say that. He's going to keep going.
It's not the end till it's the end.
No, we'll touch back on the X-Men books, and I'm sure end-of-the-year conversation we're going to have a lot to say about X-Men. I figure it's going to be on a few of our top lists.
Yeah, so much depends on the next couple months. Like these things could be like dog shit in the next months, and then it's like, whoa.
Yeah, if it's dog shit, can I return the hardcover that I'm about to buy?
No, never return X-Men.
Bryce, thank you. Thanks for once again,
gentlemen. Thank you so much for. I miss you guys, and I will be there in about 3 weeks.
Gird your loins.
We'll have you on again.
Yeah, yes, definitely gird your loins, and hopefully I'm invited into the store when I show up with Chipotle for my Uber. Yeah, I'm excited.
The Chipotle down the road, Grubhub stuff. So if you want,
I can
Grubhub Uber.
I can show up.
Chipotle.
I can show up early
regularly. So
Uber.
Do I still get too expensive if I Grubhub it? The answer is yes. That's a dad joke.
It's less than a month of HBO.
Oh, hey, I have a question. Wait, hey, no, this is for Higgins and Charlie? Yeah. Mostly Higgins. HBO Max is getting all the Studio Ghibli films.
Yep.
If I have HBO Now, is that going to be the same thing as HBO Max?
No.
Nope.
So, what do I pay differently? Because maybe we should take this offline. But I'm definitely not going to pay for a separate HBO account. What?
Why don't you just buy one Studio Ghibli movie each month, and before the year is over, you have all of them forever?
Because you're wrong. Because there's 21.
21 movies.
Well, it depends if he only buys the Miyazaki ones.
Toby,
HBO Max,
look at you.
HBO Max is
It's the Warner
Brothers
streaming service.
Yeah, so
it is not. It's not. They basically decided to brand it HBO, but it's the
They should have just called it Warner Stream.
Yes, they should.
Oh, okay.
It's really weird.
So is it going to get me access to the HBO content that I currently love? Have you guys seen Succession and the Gemstone, whatever?
As far as I know, the only thing that they've confirmed from HBO that will be on it is Game of Thrones.
Okay, let's take this offline. It sounds like I don't want this service.
Bryce, you subscribe and never unsubscribe. That's what normal people do.
My understanding. Let's take this.
If you call Ryan
other
Higgins
people
normal,
on this desk all say don't do it, except for Ryan Higgins.
The 10-second. My understanding was it's
I'm blocking the free
HBO.
account.
It's HBO Max is all HBO content plus DC Universe plus.
No.
Okay.
Not the case.
Oh no!
Oh, then there's some fact checking that needs to be done on a certain
All right,
website.
all right.
That's why I
I'm
won't
sorry.
cite on the air.
I'm
As far
sorry.
as I know, no.
I'm
Is it
sorry for
called
bringing this up.
Conspiracy?
And by sorry, I mean not sorry at all, as you know.
Yeah, elements of DC Universe was going to be on it. I believe Doom Patrol is going to be on it, but I don't think the rest is going to be on it.
Have you guys seen the Bruce Wayne episode on Titans?
I already answered this today.
Oh, it's so
So did I
titillating.
answer it today.
It's so good.
Did you say it's so titillating?
Yeah.
Are we still recording?
We are still recording.
Okay, just checking.
He hasn't done the outro.
Bryce, I have to thank all our great friends on Patreon. I won't have you do this because I want to get out of here sometime soon. So let's thank our good friends.
Don't unplug. We're not done for another half an hour.
Joe
Okay,
Duff,
Bryce. Good talking to you.
Charlie,
Sam
I
Shea,
miss you, my man. I miss the number 2 cable fan.
He says he misses you. He's not talking to you. He's
Andrew
talking to you
Nelson
right now.
Mendez at Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast. Craig Anderson over at CraigPAnderson.com. You remember Craig Anderson, Bryce?
Yeah, it's my future.
Remember Craig
That's future me. Yeah. Why could I forget?
Jimmy Rivera has it's the Social Forum, FOURUM podcast, the Social Forum. And then James Laws. Thank you guys all very, very much for your support on Patreon. The ComicConspiracyPodcast.com, Geekbox.net, and Apple Podcasts is where you can find all our previous episodes. Rate and review us. That always helps. If you go to YouTube.com/ComicsConspiracy, that is where you can find all our previous episodes on YouTube. Lots of audio content only. Unfortunately, Bryce's beautiful face is not on this podcast.
Well,
Patreon.com.
If you get your shit together, we could make that happen.
Yeah, no. Patreon.com/ComicConspiracy. That is where you can kick us a couple bucks on Patreon. Of course, the Comic Conspiracy Geekbox. And that is for those long-form questions. And ComicsConspiracy.biz is where you can buy comic books from us. Please go to conspiratorBrock.com for Brock's blog, video pull list, and unboxing videos. Charlie's podcast about Doctor Who called Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension. And LeanneHill.com with my wife Leanne. That's her website and Etsy store is linked there. You can check out all her prints that she has available on Etsy. Please follow us all on Twitter. Ryan Higgins Ryan, that's myself. Brock is Brock Sager. Larsen Bryce, that is Bryce Larsen. And he'll...
Is he still on?
Once, he's still on.
Once every
Once a month, he'll log on to Twitter and not reply. Toby is Toby XI, who once every 6 months will log on to Twitter.
No, he's blocked out of his account still.
Are you?
Oh, no.
Charlie is Insanity
He
and
probably
Chaos.
checks it more than I do.
Kevin is that Kevin Sharp. The store is Comics Con Store. Please follow all of us. And we do have, God, I should have said this earlier in the podcast. Our exclusive variant covers for Undiscovered Country is up and on our web store. If you're an international account, you can go to...
When's that coming out?
First week of November. So you can go...
November
November
wait.
6th, I believe it is.
Is that the same? November?
Remember the 5th of November.
Yeah, it is November!
Baby. So you can go on eBay, on our eBay store, search for this Comics Conspiracy.
Please do not go on the Comic Conspiracy eBay store. Go on the Toby eBay store, and you will see it for double the price than what Comic Conspiracy will sell it for. Please buy it from me.
So the problem is I'm going to sell copies to Toby, and then he'll say he's going to list them, and he'll put them in the back of his car, and they'll never see the light of day
That's the
again.
business model that Ryan has lived on for the last 15 years.
Well, for him.
Just search for Comics Conspiracy.
Usually I even leave it here, and he gets to resell it, and I don't even know it.
Undiscovered Country, and you can find our variant covers on there. We have a base cover and a virgin variant as well, so check those out. Awesome art by Raphael Albuquerque. He's done a lot of stuff, but specifically chosen for this project because of his connection to Scott Snyder on American Vampire from Vertigo. So please go check out that cover and pick it up. Shipping in a few weeks. We have plenty of copies available still, but they're selling at a good clip, so I would not wait.
I can't wait for all this.
Selling at a what?
Good clip.
What kind of saying is this? You from the streets now?
You've never heard this?
No?
It means fast.
Yeah, that's a very common Caucasian. Toby, that's a very common Caucasian expression. Not just Caucasian. I just mean to say that it's not necessarily
An Asian Caucasian.
Are you still recording?
We are still recording.
Is Bryce still on the air?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bryce, happy birthday.
He says happy birthday.
Kevin, thank you.
And
25 now?
last week was Craig Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Indicator.
And next week is me. So we three
Kevin,
are in a
get
cool
outta
club.
here. We are in a cool club.
So when you come here next time, we have like 3, maybe 4 birthdays to celebrate.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Our
One drink for each.
Our rally cry is Libra motherfuckers. Or maybe
Libra Mayo? What?
Libra Mayo, motherfucker.
Libra.
Please.
Libra my drink alone. Libra my beer
Please
alone.
go to Geekbox, Comedy Button, Manga Machinations, and the Infinite Binge.
Okay, seriously, Higgins, why do you are you in contract with Ryan Scott? Why do you still pimp those?
He is under, like...
I am on the Geekbox every single week.
No, I know, but the others that we never have heard of, are they even still in production?
The Comedy Button is yes, it's a weekly podcast that Ryan Scott does. He's not on every episode because he had to move, but he is on regularly with people that I know.
Do they pimp us?
And what about manga?
They
Exactly,
pimp us?
exactly, Toby, exactly.
The
Comedy Button sure as hell does
The
not.
Comedy
No,
Button
that's
does
fine.
not, and neither does Manga
Yeah,
Machinations.
that's
And
all
you've
right.
been pimping Manga Machinations for years.
Yeah.
I've been on Manga Machinations because some of our longtime listeners of this podcast.
How many times?
I've been on 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
For that, you give them a lifetime.
In the past
Friends of
decade.
the podcast.
They are actually friends of the
Yeah,
podcast. Huh?
and we used to talk.
All right,
about
let's
All
go back to the Comedy Button.
We
Not
used
to
to
give
talk
you a
about All
mug.
Talk, which again I was on multiple times. I like those guys over at All Talk. They stopped doing that.
Let's
They
go
were
back
doing
to Comedy
the
Button.
Infinite Binge on YouTube. I don't know if they're still doing it. I
How many
haven't
times
heard
has
from them
Comedy
in a while.
Button supported us? Or pimped us out?
I'm gonna guess 0.
Yeah, exactly. Can we
Exactly.
do 0 for them from now on?
Exactly, Higgins. Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Hey, we won!
I will take them off the list.
We won!
Yeah.
Watch next week.
I don't think it's a
He's just on autopilot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a win. I just think, delete that shit from your little notepad because
Yeah, go back into your history of all podcasts and take it all out, please.
An odd request, but okay.
well, I've just been hearing you pimp them for fucking years. What?